Sanford Stadium in Athens, Georgia, CSS presents the 2008 college football season opener, where today the Georgia Southern Eagles take on the nation's #1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs. And hello, I'm Matt Stewart, joined by legendary Georgia Bulldog Buck Bellew, who was the quarterback the last time the Georgia Bulldogs finished a season ranked #1. I say that because for the first time ever, the Georgia Bulldogs are starting a season ranked #1, giving them the pole position for this season-long race to get to the BCS National Championship game January 8th in Miami. And Buck, a season load of expectations in the offseason. It all started with Heisman Trophy candidates quarterback Matthew Stafford and running back Knowshon Moreno.
Well, they're the cover boys. They've been on all the magazine covers, and certainly Matthew Stafford expected to make the jump to the nation's elite this season. He's ready to make it. Knowshon Moreno, 20 carries or 20 touches a game. I think that workload's going up. But let's be honest here. How these two guys do, it's all predicated as to how this offensive line works out. That's where the question marks are on offense entering the season. They've got 5 guys in new positions, 4 starters making their first start. A lot of these guys are young. We'll get a good look at Tripp at left tackle and his buddy Vince Vance on that left side. See if these boys are ready to play.
4 first-time starters on the offensive line for the #1 team in the nation. Now, while the offense has received many of the offseason accolades, the defense remains steady as ever. Number 12 in the nation in scoring defense a year ago. A dynamic duo at linebacker in senior Donnell Ellerby and rising sophomore star Rennie Curran.
They're in the nickel package so much now with 10 of the 12 offenses in conference running the spread. So Ellerby and Curran are going to be on the field first down, second down, third down, and today they'll get a lot of action side to side trying to defend this Eagles offense.
Now, this is the 4th time that Georgia and Georgia Southern have played, but this is not the same Eagles team that has won 6 national championships. They've got a fine young head coach in Chris Hatcher. He's rebuilding the program. 30 of their top 44 players are playing in their first game today, and it starts with their quarterback situation. Redshirt freshman Lee Chappell will play, but so will Antonio Hinton, the former Georgia High School Player of the Year out of Peach County, who transferred back to his home state from Ohio State.
Chappell earned the job in the spring, and he got a ton of action in Greater Atlanta Christian, won the job, and now Hinton comes in, big-time player out of Peach County, reunited with his coach, who's now the offensive coordinator at Georgia Southern, made the best man win.
It's the Georgia Southern Eagles and the Georgia Bulldogs. We're coming back with the opening kickoff, opening day, Between the Hedges at Sanford Stadium. 92,000 plus on hand. Thanks for joining us. We'll come back and get things started in just a moment. And we are back at Sanford Stadium, just about ready for kickoff here between the Georgia Southern Eagles and the Georgia Bulldogs. College football on CSS is brought to you by the Cochran Firm. Matt Stewart and Buck Bellew with you. The 3rd member of our team is Allison Williams, and she's down between the hedges.
Guys, you mentioned the young pups on that Georgia offensive line, but you're going to be seeing a lot of youth throughout today's game. Georgia has 13 freshmen listed on their 2 deep. The ones everyone is going to be keeping their eyes on are Knowshon's backups, Caleb King and Richard Samuel, the 2 tailbacks, and then also at wideout, A.J. Green and Tavares King. Now, Georgia Southern, they're even younger. They have 20 freshmen listed on their 2 deep, playing not only out of necessity, but also because of the 8 suspensions they handed out. Look for their tailbacks are both Barry Young, Samir Baker, and Adam Urbano to contribute in the tailback position. So both coaches and fans looking to see how these guys respond in their first college test. Matt.
All right, thank you, Allison. The Georgia Bulldogs won the opening toss and have deferred to the second half, so they will be kicking off. The Bulldogs in their red and silver pants, trimmed in black. The Georgia Southern Eagles all in white with their blue. 86 degrees, 70% humidity. Winds coming out of the southeast at 6 to 10 miles per hour. And we are underway as Blair Walsh kicks off. Pasco lets it go through his hands in the end zone, and the Georgia Southern Eagles will start at the 20-yard line. And the first question of the day for the Eagles will be who trots out as the starting quarterback. Chris Hatcher told us he didn't know for sure and might not make that decision until they walked out on the field. Said he'd be going with a gut decision, so let's see what Chris Hatcher's gut tells him, and it's going to be Lee Chappell, the 6'1", 190-pound redshirt freshman out of Norcross, Georgia, 3-year starter at Greater Atlanta Christian in the Atlanta area, who sat out with a red shirt last year. So here we go. First pass goes through the hands of Tim Camp. And let's take a look at the Eagles on offense up front. William Maxwell, Dio Herrera, Trey Dunman, Jonathan Loving, and Cole Fountain. Brand new offensive line for the Eagles. Samir Baker, the running back for the Eagles, and joined by Tim Camp, Jarrell Crawford in the backfield, Joe Haney, and Michael McIntosh.
Dogs start in the 4-3, and you see the Eagles throwing it wide already. First play of the game. Spread them out.
Chappell to the air again, this time through the hands of Samir Baker. And it's going to be third down. Defensively for the Georgia Bulldogs, Jarius Wynn, Jeff Owens, Geno Atkins, and Jeremy Lomax up front. The linebackers, Darrell Gamble, Donnell Ellerby, and Rennie Curran. And in the secondary, Brian Evans, C.J. Bird, Rashad Jones, and Asher Allen.
Well, they built for this moment for 6 months. A lot of hard work in the offseason. Here's your first third and long.
Shuttle pass goes to Darrell Norman, and nothing doing. Jeremy Lomax, the senior defensive end, making the start here today. Makes the tackle. It's fourth down.
See a little game up front. Again, they just stick with a traditional 4-3, no extra DB in there, and you see a little game going on up front with the front four. These Bulldogs flying around in the first series of the game.
Charlie Edwards on the punt for the Eagles, standing at the 1, and Asher Allen standing at his own 45 to receive. Allen will be able to return this one. Takes it at the 34, picked it up. And Allen slips out of one tackle and squirms his way up to the 43-yard line. A 59-yard kick, 7-yard return. And at the 43-yard line, that's where the Georgia Bulldogs will go on offense for the first time this season, led by the junior quarterback Matthew Stafford out of Highland Park High School in Dallas, Texas. A year ago, just under 56% completion, 2,500 yards to the air, 19 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions.
Well, the stats aren't that pretty, but 17-4 as the starter. He helps them put wins in the win column. You got to love him for that.
Harris, Durham, and Muhammad Massaquoi are the wide receivers. And the first pass of the season goes to Chris Durham, who gets wrapped up on the outside by the cornerback Daryl Pasco, and a very little gain for the Bulldogs on that play. As you take a look at the Bulldogs up front, Keontae Tripp, Vince Vance, Chris Davis, Cordy Glenn, a true freshman, and Josh Davis.
Well, fullback is a big spot for Georgia here early in the season. Their big-time player Sutherland out, expected back soon. Sean Chappis getting the start. He needs to play well.
Second down and 6, and Sean Chappis now in the ball game at fullback on the second snap. Marino, first carry of the season, bounces off one man, weaves his way through the defense, gets down to the Georgia Southern 39-yard line. 14-yard pickup for Noshawn Marino after rushing for 1,334 yards a year ago.
Well, look at him. It's tough to get a hand on him, much less get him on the ground. Yards after contact. Remember Carnell Williams with Auburn? He was great at that. Noshawn Moreno, that same type athleticism at running back. You might have trouble getting 24 on the ground.
First and 10 from the 39-yard line. Marino again. This time Marino wrapped up from behind as Chris Rogers, young man out of Athens, Georgia, played at Athens Academy, played in his hometown, made the tackle. You take a look at Georgia Southern on the defensive line. Larry Beard, Brent Russell, and Dakota Walker. Chris Rogers is a defensive back. The linebackers E.J. Webb, J.B. Shippey, and Quentin Taylor. And in the secondary, Carson Hill, Chris Covington, Brandon Eccles, and Daryl Pasco.
Oddball defense, a 3-3-5 with two safeties, a bandit and a rover, bringing pressure from the edge.
Stafford back to pass, going for the home run. Complete to A.J. Green inside the 5-yard line. A 36-yard completion to the much-anticipated freshman on his very first catch of his college career.
Talked to Lindsey Scott earlier today. Boy, he was good as a freshman, and Lindsey said get the ball to A.J. Green early and get him involved, get him some confidence. This guy, much expected, coming in from Somerville. A deep threat. Look at the beautiful skinny post. NFL scouts are loving that out of Stafford. That ball couldn't have been thrown any better to number 8.
First and goal for Georgia at the 3-yard line. Marino, touchdown. Georgia leads 6-0.
it's a pretty good start for this Georgia offense. The crowd's loving it. Moreno did his thing, and then Stafford and Green get involved. This offensive line getting it done here against Georgia Southern. A little bit of a mismatch size-wise up front. Look for Georgia to take advantage of that.
And now the true freshman, Blair Walsh, successful on his first PAT attempt. And 2 minutes and 40 seconds into this ball game, Georgia scores on their opening possession and leads it 7-0. Noshawn Marino with his first touchdown run of the season after scoring 14 a year ago gives Georgia a 7-0 lead, a 5-play, 57-yard drive that took less than 2 minutes to accomplish, and the Bulldogs have their first lead of the season.
Richt and Bobo, they love balance. They want to be able to run the football so then they can take the play-action shots down the field. Boy, what a great start for Stafford and this young freshman, A.J. Green.
Chris Hatcher in his second season as the Eagles head coach, 7-4 in his first go-round, his 9th season overall, 83-16, won a Division II national championship at Valdosta State in 2004. Mark Richt, the two-time SEC Coach of the Year, starting his 8th season, 72-19. He is the 4th winningest coach among active coaches in college football today.
Yeah, Georgia Southern's got him a good young football coach. This guy was interviewing down for offensive coordinator jobs and settled in there. You see the skinny post, and this is a signature pass play NFL quarterbacks need to be able to make. You see him throw a bullet in there. And number 8 looks like he's got some skill, man. Look out for A.J. Green.
Out of Summerville, South Carolina, he is one of 5 true freshmen on the Georgia Bulldogs 2 deep on the offensive side of the ball. The Bulldogs have 2 true freshmen on the 2 deep on the defensive side of the ball, and all totaled expected to play as many or maybe even more than 10 true freshmen today. Blair Walsh is one of them.
Walsh boomed that first kickoff deep in the end zone.
This is a little short pooch kick. Let's see who's going to come up and take it. And it's Pasco, and Pasco gets knocked down immediately at the 26-yard line. DeMarcus Dobbs on the special teams tackle. Big young man out of Savannah, Georgia.
As I mentioned earlier, they've been waiting 6 some odd months to get out there and hit somebody. Live bullets are flying. Some of these guys are getting their first big hits in.
Yeah, Mark Richt said he didn't anticipate any kind of problem with motivating the Georgia Bulldogs to play Georgia Southern with it being the first game of the season. And in fact, he said focus and concentration and not being too hyped up was more of his concern. Handoff goes to Adam Urbano, freshman out of Calhoun, Georgia High School. Jeff Owens on the tackle. That's the second tackle the Bulldogs defensive line has made behind the line of scrimmage.
And big Jeff Owens, a nice little matchup with him. Dio Herrera, former Mississippi State player, the Eagles at guard, and Trey Dunman transferred down to tack. Those two guys will be knocking heads with Owens all day today.
Second down for the Eagles. They have had a difficult time here on their first 4 snaps from the line of scrimmage, moving the ball against Georgia. Working in negative yards right now. A couple of incompletions and a couple of negative yards running plays. Chappell still in there at quarterback. Fires to Urbano. Ball got tipped up in the air and nearly intercepted by the Bulldogs. You saw number 44, Danell Ellerby, wearing number 44 today in honor of senior linebacker Marcus Washington, who's out for the season with a knee injury.
Well, Geno Atkins and Jeff Owens are just owning the line of scrimmage right now here early in the game. And at Georgia, one advantage they have, you're going to see some fresh legs in there on that defensive line. They're going to play 8 to 10 guys up front, so those big boys can go all out all the time.
And perhaps a little bit of nerves there for Urbano. He certainly should have had that pass from Chappell. It's third down. Chappell steps up in the pocket and going to run it. And Chappell gets up to the 30-yard line before being dropped by Rennie Kerr in a 7-yard gain, their first positive yardage of the ball game, but well short of the first down in a 4th down punting situation for Chris Hatcher's team.
Rush 4, drop 7, a deep zone there for Georgia, and getting pressure out of that front 4. It's a beautiful thing.
So Charlie Edwards, the redshirt freshman out of Tifton, Georgia, and Tift County High School, on to punt for the second time already, standing at his 15-yard line. And Asher Allen, that was a big subject of conversation here during the offseason, who might return the punts. Asher Allen getting the initial call here in the 2008 season. Another booming kick that Asher has to go back to the 21 to get. And he's got room to run. Watch out for Asher Allen. And he finally gets caught from behind at the 41-yard line.
Asher Allen, a big play player, whether he's well on defense or whether he's returning kicks. And he knows what to do with it. It's a beautiful blocking. Look at the guy run north and south. He's not running east and west, folks. He's trying to get it to that goal line. Asher Allen, I think it's smart to start with two back there. He's dependable. You know what you got. You got some young players you might mix in a little later returning kicks.
Well, that was a 32-yard punt return for Asher Allen, the junior out of Tucker, Georgia High School. And it's 1st and 10 for the Bulldogs as they are back on offense for the second time. Working from the Eagles 42. Noshawn Marino gets about 6 on that play. Marino, the redshirt sophomore out of Belford, New Jersey, and Middletown South High School.
Running right behind Keontae Tripp. That's where he takes it. Look at Tripp working on Dakota Walker. Just handling him there, Georgia's left tackle, and Moreno knows what to do with it when he gets it.
Noshawn averaged 5.4 yards per carry a year ago. The Bulldogs have not lost since they put Marino in the starting lineup. You'll remember that for Georgia's first 5 games, Marino was not the starter. The Bulldogs, after the Tennessee game, putting in the starting lineup at Vanderbilt, and he stayed there with the Bulldogs winning their last 7. That's your referee, Ken Williamson.
Well, Rick sharing the load at running back with Thomas Brown, looking like a fit with the Falcons. This year, Noshawn, I believe, will take a bigger share of the load. I know a lot made of Caleb King. He'll be getting his first action. Thomas Brown was a proven commodity.
Bulldogs now have not only A.J. Green, but Tavares King, the other true freshman, in at wide receiver right now. Stafford surveys the wide receivers. Now he's going to run it. Had nowhere to go with it.
Stafford is brought down around the 40.
And Quentin Taylor, the middle linebacker, making the stop, a loss of a yard on the play.
Yeah, 10's going to have to have a real big game for Georgia Southern against the run and the pass. That was a coverage sack. Offensive line, good protection there. Stafford, knowing he had nobody open, just tried to get it back to the line of scrimmage.
So now it's going to be 3rd down and 9. Movement up front. It looks like the freshman Brent Russell might have made contact with center Chris Davis. That's another one of the positions. Chris Davis was a starter for the Bulldogs a year ago. Does not fall into that category, Buck, of a guy making his first start here today, but is a guy playing a different position. He was a guard a year ago. He takes over for Fernando Velasco, that important snapper spot.
Yeah, such a big part to what you do on the offensive line. That center has got to be the leader up front. He's a really solid and smart player. They're lucky to have him there in the middle.
It's 3rd down and 4.
You're going to see more and more of this. Stafford getting up there and then calling the play at the line of scrimmage when he gets to look at that pre-snap read defensively.
Stafford going for the home run. He's got Michael Moore out there, and Moore couldn't run it down. Moore had his man beat, got behind Chris Rogers. There might have been some confusion between Michael Moore and Muhammad Massaquoi as to who might be going for that ball.
I think he was throwing that toward Muhammad Massaquoi. Go route down the sideline, and you had Moore in the slot. You don't want 2 guys in the same spot. I guess Coach Eason will get that straightened out on the sideline now.
Well, we're going to see just how strong Blair Walsh's leg is from the get-go. This is a 53-yard attempt. Kick is on its way, and Blair Walsh makes an immediate impact at the University of Georgia.
Hello.
Less than 7 minutes into his first game, he's kicked a 53-yard field goal. Welcome to campus freshman. 8:25 to play in the quarter, and Georgia has a 10-0 lead. $10-0, Georgia leading Georgia Southern less than 7 minutes into this opening game of the season. You see it's 86 degrees down on the field, and Buck, that was a concern for Coach Mark Richt as they prepared this week because it has been, with all the rain over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, unseasonably cool here in the state of Georgia. Believe it or not, in August, concerned that they might not be conditioned for the hot weather.
Yeah, some things you just can't control. Even though these coaches, most of them are control freaks.
Yeah.
Can't control the weather.
Well, Georgia off to a good start here. Officially, the kick by Blair Walsh was a 52-yarder. And a very impressive start, as that was one of the questions that the Georgia Bulldogs had going into the season. How do you replace a guy like Brandon Coutu, who, of course, hit 6 50-plus field goals in his career, never missed a PAT, hit 80% of his field goals, and I think Blair Walsh, the freshman out of Cardinal Gibbons in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, who was the #1 ranked kicking recruit in the nation, has kind of put down the gauntlet early in his career.
Kevin Butler, Rex Robinson, two of Georgia's greatest kickers ever. Both love what this guy brings to the table. Now, they're not really comfortable with that 57 number, I think, but mechanically this guy is as good as they get coming in as a freshman. They think he'll work out just fine.
Number 57, Blair Walsh.
He's a little as 57 in college football.
Well, we saw a booming kick the first time and then a little pooch kick the second time, so some versatility in the kicking game. And this kick is going to be taken by Pasco at the 3-yard line. Pasco gets past the defense, and Blair Walsh gets a hand on him and runs him out of bounds. And a great return by Darryl Pasco, the junior out of Clearwater, Florida, gets it a 46-yard return across midfield.
Walsh doing a nice job too of giving him the sideline and eliminating all that cutback space that he had here. Watch Walsh forcing him toward the sideline. Nice job by the freshman kicker.
So the ball is actually at the 48-yard line of Georgia Southern. You see the Eagles have mustered only 2 yards thus far to the Bulldogs 62, and Chappell slings it out to the far sideline, and not much doing on that play. Nice safe play as Remarcus Brown makes the tackle.
These are things that Chris Hatcher believes in doing. High percentage throws on first down. It's a lot like a running play. You get it on the perimeter. You're expecting a block out of your wide receiver. And Willie Martinez knows this. You're seeing these cornerbacks up close to the line of scrimmage.
Well, a year ago, Chris Hatcher had to break away from what he typically does because he had a running quarterback in Jason Foster who rushed for over 1,800 yards and won the Walter Payton Award.
Hatcher's smart.
Worked with what he had.
Good coaching.
Yeah, they came close to winning the Southern Conference Championship. In fact, they beat Appalachian State, the 3-time national champions last year, as the carry goes to Darrell Norman out of Lincolnton, Georgia, where he was a teammate of Jarius Wynn, picked up 4 on the play and got it across midfield.
Georgia with some of these freshmen in the game. Marcus Doughton, freshman linebacker. You see jumping over the top as Ellerby makes the tackle, and Ellerby a little ornery today, getting these guys on the ground.
Got a man down for the Georgia Bulldogs, too, and it's going to be Jeff Owens.
Good grief.
Bulldogs already a man down on the defensive line today with Cade Weston out with an MCL sprain. And now they're looking at the right leg of Jeff Owens.
Oh, that would... Just got to hope for the best here. You can't afford to lose Owens in the season opener. He's your senior ward daddy up there at defensive tackle. And he looks like he's in pain.
Owens, the senior out of Sunrise, Florida, and Plantation High School, teaming up with Geno Adkins, giving the Bulldogs a tackle tandem reminiscent of Richard Seymour and Marcus Stroud.
Yeah, and with Weston in there, not playing today, but that's a trio they were hoping to ride all season long. Just hope he's going to be able to get up and go. One of the strongest players on the team, Jeff Owens. I think he's benching like 550. Hopefully he's going to get up and walk off. We'll see if we can see what happens.
Well, there he is, number 95. He's trying to hurdle a player, and that's always a bad idea when you're 298 pounds to try to hurdle another guy.
The weight, it came all down on one leg, the right leg, and you wonder if the knee was able to hold up.
Well, he's going to need assistance to get off the field.
Can't afford to lose guys like Jeff Owens.
Don't know that we'll see Jeff Owens anymore today. We'll get an update from Allison Williams as soon as possible just to try to get a clarification on just how serious, if they know already, how serious the injury might be.
Well, it doesn't look good.
Akeem Dent, linebacker, checks in, and Corby Irvin will come out. So the Bulldogs, looks like right now, looking at a three-man front.
You know, the big fellow was hurdling, as you mentioned. He comes down all the weight on that right leg, and you see the leg give away on him. He grabs the knee immediately.
Line of scrimmage is the Georgia
Bulldogs also hit hard by injuries in their safety position. Drew Williams, the senior out of Union County, out there on the field right now. Quentin Banks is out with an injury. It's third down for the Eagles. Chappell under a heavy rush, going to be sacked. Marcus Doughton, the freshman out of Fork Union, Virginia, with the quarterback sack.
number 51, Akeem Dent.
Georgia rushing 4, and they get pressure with that. Well, they bring 5 that time. You see Lomax with the pressure on the outside, and Doughton on the inside. Little game they got working there. Underneath, man coverage, some tight coverage in the secondary. Chappell not comfortable sticking that football in those tight coverage spots.
Unfortunately for the Bulldogs, that quarterback sack, Marcus Doughton and Akeem Dent going to lose that sack because it's going to be negated by an offside penalty on the Bulldogs. So now it's going to be third down and 1.
Following the penalty, third down, 1.
Chappell hit from behind as he was throwing. The ball is loose. That's going to be an incomplete pass. I believe that was Corby Irvin who snuck in from the backside and got his arm as he was trying on the follow-through.
Senior from Augusta, they will play. They're deep on the defensive line now, so you're going to see a lot of guys getting in there, and Irvin getting pressure from behind. I tell you what, this is new age football here. 3rd and 1, and you're in a spread throwing the ball down the field. Vince Dooley must be shaking his head, and Pat Dye too.
Well, it's 4th and 1 right here for the Eagles at the 42, and they're going for it.
Hinton in the game at quarterback.
First time we've seen the young man out of Peach County High School. Georgia jumped off sides. Hinton, this is a free play, fumbled at the end of the play, but I believe Georgia is going to be whistled for offsides, and the Eagles going to pick up an automatic first down here with the 5-yard mark off.
That's one way to get a first down. You draw them off sides. Change up the snap count. Part of the job as a quarterback. That's part of managing the game. I
know Eagles fans are anxious to see Antonio Hinton, sophomore out of Fort Valley, Georgia, played at Peach County High School, where his head coach was Rance Gillespie, who is now the offensive coordinator for the Eagles. Spent a couple of seasons at Ohio State, decided this summer to transfer back to the home state and competing immediately, since it's a Division I AA school, or what they used to call Division I AA. He doesn't have to sit out.
1st and 10 at the Georgia 37.
He's more of a passer than he is a scrambler and runner. Not that he can't do that, but this kid comfortable in the pocket throwing it downfield.
So 1st and 10 for the Eagles at the 37-yard line. Handoff goes to Norman, and Darrell Norman got it to the 34-yard line, picked up about 3 on that play.
Rod Battle, the tackle there, junior defensive end. You're going to see a lot of these plays this season. 10 of the 12 opponents running the spread, and that's the signature play there. That read option with the quarterback and running back. Battle, a nice read there coming down on the running back.
Chris Hatcher expects to play 6 different offensive linemen, 5 different running backs, 8 different wide receivers, 2 different quarterbacks today. Says he wants to see who performs when the heat is on. 2nd down and 7. That is complete to Tim Camp. Camp still on his feet, battles down to the 17-yard line. Tim Camp, the senior for the Eagles out of Harlem, Georgia, 17-yard pickup.
Georgia in a zone coverage, and Hinton just finds a seam in the zone, and he sticks it in there. You see the strong arm. 2 Georgia defensive backs there, Prince Miller and Brian Evans, converging. That arm strength, he's showing it off, sticking it in between those 2 defenders.
1st and 10. Handoff goes to Adam Urbano. Urbano gets down to the 11-yard line.
Number 34, Adam Urbano.
Eagles have something going on here, throwing it, running it. Georgia jumping off sides a couple of times. They're going to need some help.
Looks like Antonio Hinton has given them a little bit of a spark. You see very limited action for Hinton last year with the Buckeyes. Only 3 attempts. Actually, that should be the other way. 3 out of 6. 3 completions and 6 attempts.
Well, you don't want to give up 7 here if you're the Georgia defense. You want to clamp down, make them kick the field goal. It's a big 3rd down play. And Chris Hatcher dialing them up, making sure they got the right call in there. Willie Martinez matching widths.
Well, Chris Hatcher told his quarterbacks the best way to stay in the ball game is to score touchdowns. And Antonio Hinton trying to get the Eagles on the board here, getting late in the first quarter. Hinton fakes one way, goes the other, going to be sacked by Rod Battle. Roderick Battle, who's been hampered by a hamstring injury for much of preseason camp, gets the quarterback sack and a loss of 9.
Believer Marcus Brown blew it up out there, tight coverage on where he wants to go with the football. So he says, wow, I better make something happen here. Georgia wouldn't allow it. See the receivers covered. I'll come out the back door. Up. Got some dogs back there hunkering down around the back door.
Jarius Wynn was also in on that quarterback sack. Here's Jesse Hartley, the senior out of Tallahassee, who was 17 out of 24 on his field goal attempts last season. This is a 35-yard attempt, and it's on its way, and it is no good. Jesse Hartley, who did not miss many a year ago, misses his first attempt here in 2008. 3:22 to play in the opening quarter, and Georgia still leads it 10-0. Georgia leading Georgia Southern 10-0 with 3:22 to play in the opening quarter. Don't miss the Dog Report on CSS Monday nights at 7 o'clock Eastern. Get an inside look at the Bulldogs along with me, Buck Bellew, and Matt Stinchcomb. News, features, and fun you can't get anywhere else. That's Monday nights at 7 o'clock Eastern, or go to css-sports.com to see a complete listing of showtimes on your source for Southeast sports.
A lot of sweating going on today at Sanford Stadium. UGA 7's holding up. I see he found a bag of ice a little earlier. He's already cooling off.
I think it comes naturally. Of course, this is the debut for UGA 7, following in the footsteps of UGA 6, who passed away during the offseason. He's a rookie, too. Georgia's starting a true freshman at the Doghouse.
Say he's a hard worker, though.
I think Lauren's best is what they're calling him.
Big appetite.
So the Bulldogs go on offense from their own 20-yard line. Bulldogs poorest field position to this point in the contest.
And Georgia wants to run the football here in the season opener. They've got an advantage size-wise on that offensive line and that front for Georgia Southern. They've 4 first-down plays. They've run it 3 of the 4 times.
Joe Cox comes in for the Bulldogs here on their 3rd possession. Cox goes to the air and skips it out there to Muhammad Massaquoi.
Surprise, surprise, the Georgia backup quarterback, Matthew Stafford's golfing buddy, as I understand it. Want to get that backup in there, let him get a few snaps here. It's not an easy thing to do, just go in there and start throwing it around.
Matthew Stafford taking a rest over on the sideline as Joe Cox, the junior out of Charlotte, North Carolina, gets into the ball game for the first time today. Noshawn Moreno still standing to his left. Cox will dump it off for Noshawn. And Noshawn gets it up to the 36-yard line.
There's just nothing 24 can't do. He can run it between the tackles. He can break it outside, outrun you. He can make you miss. And he is a tremendous receiver in this Georgia offense. I saw him at practice earlier during two-a-days. He had the bum shoulder, so they let him work out at receiver. And if you didn't know any better, you would have thought he was a wide receiver for the Georgia attack. You'll see a lot of these screen passes this year trying to get him in the open field.
And Mark Rick said one of the keys this season would be figuring out how to use him without overusing him. Fumble on the play. Richard Samuel, the true freshman, getting in the ball game for the first time. He coughs it up on his very first play, and the Eagles take over inside the 40-yard line.
It looked like an exchange problem with Cox and the young freshman Samuel here. He reached for it. You know, he's a freshman. He's getting his first rep. He's going to carry for the first time. He's a little anxious, over anxious, and he reaches for the football instead of waiting on Cox to put that thing in his breadbasket.
And that was one of the Eagles' defensive stars of a year ago, All-Southern Conference, Chris Covington, who came up with the loose ball, and this sets up the Eagles at the Georgia 35 with 3 minutes to play in the quarter. Antonio Hinton back in there at quarterback. They've got one of their running backs, Urbano, split out to the top of your screen. Handoff goes to Norman, and Darrell Norman tackled by Justin Houston playing against his hometown team. Let's check in with Allison Williams.
Well, guys, you can see Jeff Owens has taken off his pads and his jersey. He will not be returning to today's game. He's suffered an injury to his right knee. They've iced it and taped it. We don't know how severe it is, but he will not be returning today.
Thank you, Allison, and that's tough news for Jeff Owens, but hopefully it's an injury that's going to keep him out only today, and he can get back to action for the Bulldogs next week when they play Central Michigan.
Yeah, the hope is a sprain and nothing's torn. That'd be a big loss.
2nd down and 4. Again, Norman down close to the first down at the 25-yard line.
Rennie Curran and Ellerby, they should be busy today, as we said in the open. They play 1st, 2nd, 3rd down, even when they have that extra DB in there. These two linebackers are on the field. And is as good a tandem as you will see in college football.
Ellerby had 93 tackles a year ago. Curran had 53 tackles, making only 5 starts. Handoff goes to Norman on 3rd and 1, and he does pick up the first down with the extra effort. Even though he got popped in the backfield, he was able to spin out of that tackle and pick up the first.
Corey Irvin got the penetration, trying to blow it up back there and stop him. Nice job of spinning off the tackle.
So Norman, the redshirt freshman who transferred into the program out of UAB, where he played for Neil Callaway. Actually, I think he transferred in after Watson Brown left and Neil Callaway was coming in. So this is his 2nd year in the program. Pass is thrown, and it is complete. Tim Camp, their go-to guy, gets it down to the 15-yard line. 8-yard pickup.
Well-conceived play there, a little play action. Now one receiver running down the sideline, running off the coverage, and nobody underneath there. Marcus Brown has to come up, make the one-on-one tackle. And Marcus, not the biggest, most physical player on the field.
And Tim Camp is their most physical wide receiver at 6 foot 210. Prepped at the Air Force before Air Force prep, that is, before coming to the Statesboro campus. It's 2nd down and 2. Jarrell Crawford, a walk-on from Georgia Military College, now in there. Handoff. Nope. Fake the handoff, and a first down pickup. Antonio Hinton.
Good ball handling there.
Had me faked out, which isn't necessarily hard to do.
Well, look at the fake there. It looks like he stuck it in there pretty good. Hinton picking up the first down. He's a tough, big guy, too. He's one guy that won't be intimidated. He's been in that big college atmosphere up there at Ohio State.
Well, Chris Hatcher is not adverse to playing 2 quarterbacks. This is not necessarily a situation where Hinton or Chappell wins the job today and holds on to it for the rest of the season. Back when they won the national championship at Valdosta State in 2004, he played 2 quarterbacks with the Blazers.
A lot of teams right now searching for a quarterback.
Handoff, Urbano up the middle. Urbano will get stopped at the 1, then a second surge. Got him down inside the 1.
To the 1.
Thought he got the push there at the end across the goal line there. He wanted that 6. He wanted to get in that end zone. Got a little help from his friends. You see at the end of the run. Nice little cutback here. And Curran getting knocked down. Got Prince Miller not coming up strong. Rashad Jones makes the tackle.
10-yard pickup. Snap might have been fumbled. And they lost a yard on the play. I don't know if it was fumbled or not. They reacted as if it had been. He might have just gone down quick. He was fumbled. It was fumbled. And that's the end of the first quarter. We played 15 minutes from Sanford Stadium with Georgia leading Georgia Southern 10-0.
Hatcher grew up in that football family. His dad, a longtime high school coach in the state of Georgia. He sort of learned from dad and then took that and started running with it. Outstanding player in college, like you mentioned, and a really good guy. Georgia Southern, they've got him a good football coach and a good man right now.
False start on the offense, number 61. 5-yard penalty, remains second down.
So a 5-yard mark-off for the Eagles just made their task a little bit more difficult. Hatcher only 35 years old, and he said when I came in, he had to convince the players. They had been through a lot. He's the third coach. When he was hired, he was the third coach in 13 months after they'd let go Mike Seawalk, and of course Brian Van Gorder was there for only 1 year.
A lot of cleaning up to do.
Second down, Hinton scrambled and tripped. Looks like his feet got tangled up with one of the Georgia Bulldogs, and he is dropped back at the 9-yard line.
Turf monster got him, I believe. Reached up and grabbed that foot. Just got tangled up.
Irving leading the pressure for the Bulldogs.
You see there Geno Atkins just dominating play there at the tackle spot. He's getting off that ball, wreaking havoc.
Yeah, actually tripped over the feet of one of his offensive linemen. Eagles are 1 of 5 on third down conversions. This is a 3rd and goal from the 10. Hinton intercepted. Danell Ellerby with the interception in the back of the end zone.
Just trying to put it in a tight spot, made a mistake doing it. Georgia plays coverage here on defense. They're dropping 7, 8 back into coverage there, and Danell Ellerby just hiding in the middle of the field amongst all those bodies. Hinton never saw him. Do you rush? Do you play coverage? They elect to rush 4, play coverage, and Ellerby will never have an easier interception than that.
He just dropped back in the zone and nestled in under that pass, came right to him. 3rd career interception for Danell Ellerby, the senior out of Hamlet, North Carolina, and Richmond High School. And Matthew Stafford's back in there at quarterback, and Noshawn Marino's back in at tailback. Stafford guns it. Kenneth Harris. Kenneth Harris expected to have a bigger role in the offense this year after slumping last year with only 4 catches.
Bobo starting to dial up some pass plays on first down. Eagles playing off on the corner at cornerback, so this is pitch and catch stuff here. This is easy money with Stafford. A little 12-yard out, picking up the first down.
Actually a little bit short of the first down. 2nd down and less than a yard to go. Marino picks up the first down. Marino bulls his way up to the 37-yard line, still on his feet. Noshawn said, my knees never touched, but they blew him dead at the 37.
Well, watch this offensive line. Cordy Glenn coming off on Quentin Taylor, that middle linebacker. Cordy Glenn, the true freshman, holding his own in there so far.
So the Bulldogs, the first down at the 37-yard line. Noshawn Marino, perhaps the most sought-after Georgia Bulldog running back since the days of Herschel Walker, I think from a attention standpoint of the fans. And all due respect to Garrison Hurst, that's a pass out to Muhammad Massaquoi. Not a whole lot of room to go anywhere.
Complete to number 1, Muhammad Massaquoi. He's tackled by
Trying to get Mo involved. You got to spread this thing around. You got some playmakers. They want to get involved here. Massaquoi's one of those guys they're going to lean on this year. When they need a big play, he's going to have to deliver.
Muhammad had 32 catches a year ago as a junior. Trying to get back to that level. He had 38 catches as a freshman season and really set the bar high for himself, and has not had that number in an individual season the last 2 years. 2nd down and 8. Stafford in the middle for a wide open Chris Durham off to the races, and Durham is going to score the touchdown. 61 yards, and it's 16-0.
Another big throw down the field, and he throws a frozen rope there right on the money to Durham, but it was Noshawn Moreno that made it happen. Off the play fake, he takes care of the blitzing linebacker, which gives Stafford time to get it downfield and Durham to run that route. Chris Durham, known as a possession guy early, but he took that one the distance.
Blair Walsh with the PAT, and the Georgia Bulldogs now lead it 17-0. 2 minutes and 22 seconds into the third quarter, the Georgia Bulldogs have extended their lead to 17-0 on the 61-yard pass play from Matthew Stafford to Chris Durham, the junior out of Calhoun, Georgia High School.
Well, just a wonderful throw. And Durham, you know, they need him to step up and be big this year. This guy is a physical blocker at wide receiver and also a playmaker, too. Showing off a little speed, 16.
Let's go down on the field and check in with Allison Williams.
Well, guys, Matthew Stafford has higher expectations for himself than anyone could of this team. This offseason, he really worked on getting in his best physical shape. He dropped between 10 and 15 pounds. He says he feels like he can move a lot better at that weight. They also spent a lot of time on his fundamentals, making sure he had the proper footwork. But the biggest thing was focusing on improving his completion percentage. He came into today's game with a career completion percentage just under 55%. He said that's not going to do this year. He expects every throw he makes to be perfect and right on the money. And so far today, looks like all that hard work is paying off.
Indeed it is. He's 5 of 6 today for 112 yards. That touchdown catch by Chris Durham, by the way, his first career touchdown reception. And the Bulldogs, a very talented and deep wide receiver core, perhaps as deep and as talented as they have in quite some time. Durham only 3 career starts, but he'll play a big role in the offense this season. Pasco will take this at the 5. And Pasco will be stopped shy of the 25-yard line. A 19-yard return as Darrell Gamble, I believe, was in on that special teams tackle. Gamble getting the start at linebacker today. The other linebacker that we haven't really talked about.
First and 10, Georgia Southern.
Yeah, that front 7, keep an eye out. They're going to be running guys in and out. And Justin Houston in the game now from Statesboro, one of those redshirt freshmen. He and John Knox, really impressive in the spring. 2 guys I expect, 2 boys from the Borough, making an impact with his defense. Houston, take a look at him at right defensive end.
Another boy from the Borough, as you like to call it, who might see action today is that top recruit, D'Angelo Tyson. And he is in the ball game. Right on cue, number 94 for the Georgia Bulldogs, D'Angelo Tyson, true freshman, playing at defensive tackle, and he's a big boy, 6'2", 300 pounds.
Those boys from the Borough are tough, and Tyson, highly recruited, highly thought of. Take that red shirt off him. He's going to have to play some football, especially now that you see Owens over there on the sideline nursing that knee injury.
Timeout called by the Georgia Bulldogs. That's the first that they have used in this ball game. Georgia ranked number 1 in the preseason poll for the first time ever, a consensus number 1. Buck, that never even happened back in the days when you were there, and then those glory years of the 1980s. The Georgia Bulldogs, a preseason number 1. And Mark Rick says, you know, he's glad that the season is starting because it just makes things a lot easier. For the last 7 months, you answer the same question over and over and over again about what's it like to be preseason number 1. At least now, the questions might be more about weekly opponents and how the season's going.
Yeah, you can't control all that publicity, and certainly there's some advantages starting at the top, but there's nowhere to go but down here. I think the focus, you want to win the SEC championship. That is the focus. That's what you can feel and touch. That's tangible. You know, you worry about that national stuff down the road.
Looks like D'Angelo Tyson, who we were just talking about, maybe got a little bit anxious there on that first snap and jumped off sides.
Can't blame him. He's wanting to make a play. Smart of the quarterback, too, to change up that snap count. When you see those young guys over there, you want to take advantage of that aggressiveness. You can do that with the snap count.
Offsides, defense, number 55. The defensive player moved to the
It was actually Jeremy Lomax, the senior.
He's just looking out for the freshman.
Lomax takes the place of Marcus Howard. Lomax with 4.5 quarterback sacks last year as a junior. He's one of those guys who's really kind of like Marcus Howard, finally getting a chance to start as a senior. Lomax is offsides again.
Thought it was Usain Bolt getting out of the blocks in that 100 or 200 meter in the Olympics.
He jumped offsides twice.
He did.
Willie Martinez says, "Get me somebody who can stay on sides."
He's none too happy. He's not laughing. John Fabris, the defensive end coach there, taking a little lip from Coach Martinez. He's telling him, get somebody in there that won't jump off sides. One more time. There you go.
Yeah. Willie Martinez turned to Coach Fabris and said, "What are you teaching those guys? What are y'all working on in practice?" Jarius Wynn checks in for Jeremy Lomax.
Well, as a player, you go hide over there behind those bodies for a little bit. Let them forget about it.
Hinton on the run. Marcus Doughton was the first one to hit him. I don't know that he got him down. And there's another one of the freshmen in on the bottom of that pile right there. Brandon Boykin, the true freshman cornerback out of Fayette County High School. Another one of the big-time recruits for the Bulldogs in this 2008 signing class.
Mark Rick looking to play about 10 freshmen, something along that. 2, 3, 4 on the defensive side. I'll tell you what, I like the philosophy. They used to be concerned when you put the freshman in, he was going to make a mistake. Quit worrying about that. Get him in the game. Let's turn him loose. Let him play football. Quality depth is such a huge advantage. You want to build that early in the season.
So now it's 2nd down and 1 after a 9-yard pickup by Antonio Hinton. Oh, goodness gracious. That's Rashad Jones. The next big hitter at safety for the Bulldogs is Rashad Jones, a former #1 recruit in his own right. And he laid out Tim Camp.
Yeah, Tim Camp none too happy about that, too, motioning back to Hinton. Dude, you can't be throwing it there. Lead me right into Jones. Jones is a big-time player. He's going to break out, have a breakout season, I believe. This guy's going to be an All-American before his career's over with.
Darrell Norman picks up the first down. That's just the second 3rd down conversion for the Eagles in this ball game in 7 attempts, but it gets them the first down close to midfield.
Well, deep into the second quarter here, you're seeing a lot of guys with the hands on the hips. As you mentioned, the weather a big factor today. All this cool weather has moved in, and these players are sucking for air on a hot day in Athens. A lot of sweating going on.
You know, and going back to what you were talking about, Buck, in regard to the freshmen, it's one thing when you play the freshmen because you have to out of necessity. It's another when they're just so talented that their talent ability warrants that they play right away. Speaking of freshmen, that's a catch by Marcus Russ, one of 3 freshman receivers that Chris Hatcher is really high on in his program.
Yeah, turn him loose, let him play. Asher Allen out there fighting hard, maybe the littlest man on the field. You see him get the ball out of there. Asher Allen, they list him at 198. I think they might be fudging on that number a little bit. He plays 200, I tell you that.
Marcus Russ, freshman out of St. Pete, Florida, played at Gibbs High School. They got 2 other freshmen, Nick Bass out of Northside and Warner Robins, and DeMarcus Watts out of Grady in Atlanta, that they expect big things from in their program this year. 4 wides and trips to the top for the Eagles. And Darrell Norman, not much doing on that play.
Willie Martinez sneaking 8 up in the box. They bring C.J. Bird from the safety spot, getting busy against that run. They will bend, but we're not going to break. The great Irk Russell had that philosophy, and what an impact he made here at Georgia and at Georgia Southern will never be forgotten. Should be in the College Hall of Fame. Willie Martinez, some of the same philosophies. We'll bend, but we're not breaking.
3rd down and 5. These 2 programs will forever be linked by Irk Russell. That is why so many Georgia Bulldogs fans also count themselves among Georgia Southern fans.
No question.
Hinton fires. It's complete. And a 1st down completion to Samir Baker, freshman out of Valerico, Florida, and Brandon High School. Believe it or not, this is the first college football game that Samir Baker's ever been to, and he's playing in it.
Well, you see the ball's out of there quickly, not time for the rush to get pressure on the quarterback. And Bird right at that 1st down marker. Nice job of getting him down.
Going to be shy of the 1st down, I believe. Oh, no, they're going to go ahead and say that he got it. A 1st down inside the 43-yard line. There he is out of Valrico, Florida. Hard to imagine that in this day and age, a player playing college football had never been to one in attendance, but that's the case with Samir Baker.
Brandon Wood in for Georgia at defensive tackle, a sophomore out of Buchanan. Yeah, this Owens going down is going to give a lot of these guys like Brandon Wood some playing time today.
Yeah, Owens and Weston, so you count 2 of your top 3 defensive tackles out with injury. Going to really kind of get into that depth chart here today. And a timeout has been called by the Georgia Southern Eagles. That'll be the first that they have used. We are 5 minutes and 44 seconds into the second quarter with the #1 Georgia Bulldogs leading 17-0. 9:16 to play in the second quarter. Georgia leading 17-0. And let's check in with Allison Williams.
Well, guys, no one is going to miss Jeff Owens out there more than his fellow defensive tackle, Geno Atkins. They really complement each other very well, not just in their style of play, but also their personality. Owens has always been very talkative. Atkins much more reserved, so much so that they actually call him Geno 180 because he was so quiet when he came in here, and then he came out of his shell, thanks in large part to Owens. But he's had a few other nicknames. There was Geno Dollar because they said he wasn't worth $1 his freshman year. Sophomore year, it was Geno Stacks because he stacks up so many plays. This year, he said he doesn't know what they're going to call him, but as long as they call him a national champion at the end of the year, that's all he's worried about.
Thank you very much, Allison. Geno Atkins, a junior out of Pembroke Pines, Florida, St. Thomas Aquinas High School.
Yeah, underloved too with these preseason all-conference and all-American teams. This guy has the pedigree. I think at the end of the season you might see him first team all-SEC. Penetrator, explosive out of the stance. 56 is one of the best tackles in the country.
First and 10, Georgia Southern at the Georgia 42.
First and 10 at the 42-yard line. Hinton rolling to his right. Lomax in his face. Dumps it downfield and nearly intercepted by C.J. Bird, who was diving out of bounds when he got his hands on the ball.
Well, C.J. Bird just jumps the route. He recognizes this 2-man route, knows that flag route is something he wants to be a part of there. Canadian League, he might come down with the interception. Good recognition, and that's what it's all about as a defensive back. You practice, you study film, you want to recognize what the play is quickly. He jumped all over that route.
C.J. Bird, senior out of North Augusta, South Carolina High School. Had 1 interception and 44 tackles a year ago. Antonio Hinton did not start this game. Lee Chappell did, but he's been in there for at least half of it by now. Ball was broken up by Brandon Wood.
Yeah, Brandon Wood almost had that interception.
Pass was broken up.
Ball coming right his way, trying to get a little screen pass. Inside screen pass is what the Eagles have on here. You see the running back trying to turn around, just that lane closed. No way to get the ball in there with those boys knocking around.
Eagles 3 for 8 on their 3rd down conversions. Third and 10 right here from the 43. Hinton given time, fires in the middle and nearly intercepted by Rashad Jones, who had it and was already going back the other way.
Really nice job, Willie Martinez, mixing things up. That time they rushed 3 and they drop 8 into coverage. You see Rashad Jones, again, good recognition, breaking on the ball, anticipating that throw over the middle. Should have come up with his first interception.
You know, and Rashad Jones is a guy who, at the time when he first got here, resisted the idea of being redshirted. Now says that it was the best thing that ever happened to him. Said, when I first got here, I was selfish. I was thinking about myself, but mentally and physically sitting out that first year did wonders for his career.
He's all grown up.
Ball hits inside the 10, and it's going to be down by Dylan Douglas at the 1-yard line. A 41-yard kick executed nicely by the Eagles. Charlie Edwards in their punt team.
Well, Mark Richt is he's been down there trying to get this crowd involved on some of these big 3rd down plays, and really a great crowd here. Georgia Southern. Everybody knows about the Eagles here. They're packed in, excited about Georgia football this year.
Another 92,000 plus on hand at Sanford Stadium.
Bet the concessions are doing well with those cold drinks.
So the Bulldogs start from the 1. And Stafford on a keeper punches it out a couple of yards.
Matthew Stafford, we have already touched on the fitness commitment that he's made. A little chubby when he came in, you know, like a lot of freshmen. Get rid of that freshman 5, freshman 10. He has really made a commitment to be fit. And one of the ways you continue to play at a high level longer is by being in great shape. I tell you, I tip my cap to 7. He's really done all he can to go out and have a great season.
Second down and long for the Bulldogs. Stafford out of the end zone. And Durham was the intended receiver. Chris Covington reached in front of him and knocked it down.
Well, Covington with tight coverage there, and tell you what, he's an outstanding football player.
And actually that was 86, not 16. All I saw was the 6. That was Trip Chandler in the first time that Stafford has tried to go to him today. Tight
coverage there. Covington, a heck of a season last year. He just picked up where he left off.
Was a running back his first couple of years on the Statesboro campus out of Brookwood High School in the Atlanta area. It's third down now.
Led the team of tackles a year ago.
Also led them in interceptions with 4. Stafford out of the end zone again, and this time it is complete again, and this time it is to Trip Chandler. They failed to connect the first time. They're successful the second time. A 26-yard pickup for the Bulldogs out close to the 30.
Opposite side of the field. This time he gets the best of Covington, and Stafford, nice presence in the pocket, and you see the accurate throw. Right on the numbers. Quarterback's best friend, that reliable tight end, and they've really got some great chemistry. Good friends off the field, and a good combination on it.
First and 10, ball at the 29-yard line. Pitch to Richard Samuel. First carry of his college career, actually the second. The first one he fumbled. He picks up 5 yards.
Really impressive during the two-a-day sessions. Physically as a freshman, very impressive, and mentally, a guy mature beyond his age right now. He's like 17 when he jumped on campus, right? This is a young kid that really impressed him during the two-a-days.
Graduated early from Cash High School in Cartersville, Georgia. Was here for spring football practice. And that was one of the questions for Mark Richt this week after Noshawn comes out. Who's the next guy in? And the answer today was Richard Samuel, who gets his 3rd carry and gets it up close to the 45-yard line, and another first down on a 10-yard pickup.
Quentin Taylor on the tackle, Eagles middle linebacker. Richard Samuel, a guy that has the skill set to be physically make an impact between the tackles, and you see his ability getting outside the tackles with a nice little run. Good job, freshman. That's how they normally refer to you your first year with the team, freshman. Get used to it.
Ball at the 44. Blitz is coming. Stafford forced to run it, and he's going to go down. Got back to the line of scrimmage.
With Sturdivant going down with the knee injury at left tackle, really a big loss for Georgia, and then having to move Tripp from right tackle to left tackle. Josh Davis steps in at the right tackle, and you saw him do a nice job on pass protection that time, pushing the defensive end beyond Matthew Stafford, allowing him to step up in the pocket.
Situation will improve somewhat next week when Clint Bowling is finished serving his 1-game suspension. And Bowling is a guy could play left tackle, and might play right guard, could play any number of the 4 positions other than center on that offensive line upon his return.
My guess he comes back as the right tackle because they've got so much depth at the guard spot.
Ball is thrown out to Muhammad Massaquoi, who got stuck and held on to it. Pasco put a lick on him, but the senior held on to it at the 50-yard line.
And that is an outstanding play by Muhammad Massaquoi there. I mean, he's extended, the ball's exposed, and he takes the shot and holds on to the football here. So he's trying to teach Green, King, these young freshmen how to play the game here. You got to be tough. It's one thing to look pretty running down the field, but it's another to be able to absorb these blows. Momass getting it done.
It's 3rd down and 4. Stafford and complete. Nope, going to rule him out of bounds. Mohamed Massaquoi from one sideline to the other this time got knocked out of bounds, and it's going to be fourth down.
Like the play call, Mike Bobo incorporating a little roll package. Look, Stafford's not just some stationary guy. He's athletic. He can throw it on the run. You want to move that pocket around a little bit. Show this defense a lot of different looks there. It's Mike Bobo. Yeah, up in the box with the Georgia assistant coaches.
Mark Richt this week saying that Mike Bobo and his offensive staff did a very good job last year of not asking the offense to do more than what the offensive line could handle. You'll remember last year the Bulldogs started 3 freshmen on the offensive line. Brian Mims with a kick, and is taken by Terrence Hill at the 17-yard line with the fair catch. A 32-yard kick by the senior Brian Mims. First time Georgia's had to punt today. And the Eagles go back on offense inside their 20-yard line, and we'll see if Antonio Hinton again is called upon to make the calls.
See Mims, returner, punter, gets bumped, and hey, it's his job to try to, draw the penalty here. They sent him out to Hollywood during the summer, trying to get some lessons from some of those big-time guys out there, like Timberlake. And
apparently needs to work on it a little bit. Well, Hinton's back out there at quarterback. He's 4 of 9 of 36 yards.
A lot of underneath stuff. Wonder if he'll take some shots down the field here.
Handoff goes to Urbano. Urbano, who was a teammate of Chris Durham in high school, picked up a couple of yards on the play. Georgia Southern rebuilding this program. Hatcher saying not just for this year, but overall, not only did they have multiple changes in their head coaching position in a very short period of time, they also had to deal with scholarship reductions from the NCAA. So Hatcher having to work from behind his first couple of years. In fact, he had only 11 days of recruiting when he was hired last season.
He's done a great job in the Atlanta area. I believe they've got 40, 45 guys from Atlanta. Wonder how the Georgia State program will impact his recruiting.
That's a very good question, and certainly a concern for the Eagles. They'll be playing in the same classification, different conferences, however, since, of course, Georgia Southern, a member of the Southern Conference. Georgia State will play in the Colonial.
Hatcher, well respected. Bobby Bowden wanting to talk to him about the offensive coordinator's job. Nick Saban wanting to talk to Hatcher about being the offensive coordinator. This guy is respected, and Georgia Southern's got him a good man.
Georgia Southern is 3 of 9 on their third downs today, and this is a 3rd and 6.
Hatcher interviewed for that Georgia Tech job.
Dump off, and Darrell Norman will not pick up the first down.
This is where Georgia's defense is at their best there. They've got 2 linebackers, Elby and Curran, that can run, they can hit, they can get it done out in the open grass. Space eaters. Look at Ellerby out there. And there's Curran cleaning it up.
Bulldogs just used their second timeout, and with 3:14 to play in the first half, Georgia leads Georgia Southern 17-0, and will get their hands back on the ball when we come back. Back at Sanford Stadium, Georgia leading Georgia Southern 17-0. Let's go down on the field to Allison Williams.
Well, guys, I'm joined now by one of the many great tight ends to come out of the University of Georgia, Randy McMichael, now with the St. Louis Rams. Randy, Trip Chandler's out there trying to follow in your footsteps. So far with what you've seen today, how would you say he's doing?
I'm proud of Trip, man. I remember the first time I met Trip, he was a young pup, and now he's just grown so much. And he's representing number 86, number I wore. So I'm happy for him, and I know he's going to continue to get better this year, and he's going to have an opportunity to play at the next level like all of us.
He said one of the things he learned from the former tight ends here was that you have to run like a fullback, block like a lineman, and catch like a wide receiver. How important is it to be multifaceted here?
You have to, especially nowadays. And the tight end position has changed so much from back in the days. And now you have to be an athlete to play it. He is one, and especially in Coach Rick's offense, you got to be an athlete or he won't put you out there. So I'm just proud of Trip. Yeah, he's representing the tight end room well, and we're looking forward to having another Georgia tight end in the next level.
A lot of preseason hype surrounding this Bulldogs team. What's it going to take for them to run the table this year?
Consistency, man. That's all. That's what's going to take. I think that the coach is going to keep them level-headed, and they've got to go out there and go to work every day. And they do that, then we'll be in Miami or wherever the national championship game.
Down in Miami. How does it feel to be back here between the hedges?
Oh, this is great, man. You know, I told Coach Rick, anytime I get an opportunity to come home, I'm coming, man. And, you know, I'm just proud to be a Georgia Bulldog. Our kids are here, everybody's here, so we're just having a good time.
Great. Thanks so much, Randy. Matt.
All right, thank you, Allison. Randy McMichael, one of the great tight ends and a long line of great tight ends to come through the University of Georgia. Randy in the league, Benjamin Watson, Leonard Bope. You just keep running them off. Martrez Milner. That's four just right off the top of my head.
Yeah, the two I played with, Mark Hodge was a great one. Ulysses Norris. We had Clarence K, Norris Brown, all doing great stuff back in the late 70s, early 80s.
54-yard kick by Charlie Edwards, 7-yard return by Asher Allen, and the Bulldogs start this possession. 3:01 to play in the half, and they are at their 27-yard line. Stafford 7 of 10 here in the first two quarters. And the ball batted down, trying to get the ball to Trip Chandler. Trying to squeeze it into a spot between two players. Lenny Richardson getting on the field, redshirt freshman linebacker, number 17.
You know, it's not a supreme test, but, you know, first time out for this group of offensive linemen on that Georgia side. I think thus far they've done a really nice job protecting Stafford.
Stafford slings it sidearm underneath the Noshawn Moreno. This could be trouble for the Eagles. Moreno takes on a man downfield, knocks the freshman A.J. McCray backwards and picks up 40 yards on the play.
Well, what you got to love about Moreno, he's multi-skilled. He can run it, he can catch it, and he finishes the runs. You won't see him run out of bounds. He's trying to get another 3 to 5. He's going to take somebody on, mister, and you better be ready because he's bringing it.
A.J. McCray, number 2, tried to get in front of him and eventually did trip him up. So 1st and 10 for the Bulldogs at the 35.
Caught him right on the chin.
Eagles showing blitz here. And the play gets blown dead as the toss went to Richard Samuel.
Wonder if we're going to see Caleb King today.
Haven't seen him yet. Nope, haven't seen him yet. Also, I wonder if we're going to see Ben Jones in there at center.
Full start.
Freshman out of Centerville, Alabama. They're anticipating that he would be one of the true freshmen to play on the offensive line today. Also, redshirt freshman Justin Anderson. Don't know that we've seen him yet. Perhaps they have, and I've just missed it. That's 2 of the freshmen and redshirt freshmen expected to be in that offensive line rotation today.
Got 2 Greyhounds out wide here, Goodman and Green.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of referring to as the Bulldogs might have gotten the Eagles off sides here as Stafford took a knee. Kind of what I was referring to earlier, how talented and deep the Georgia Bulldogs are at wide receiver, perhaps more so than in recent memory. You got a guy like D'Amico Goodman, one of the fastest players on the team. You know, he's in the mix, but a little bit further down on the depth chart.
They know he has playmaking ability. As you see this season develop, he's going to have some shots to make some plays down the field. He has that type of talent. A track guy that has really worked his way into being a wide receiver.
Well, you got A.J. Green and D'Amico Goodman in there at the same time right now. Pitch to Samuel. Richard Samuel with a little spin move. Glides by his man, gets inside the 25 on a 13-yard pickup.
And if he keeps his feet, he's going to take that one the distance. A little spin move, man. I think it's coming back. And look at this offensive line. Cordy Glenn pulling there, and he's so athletic out there blocking and throwing. Nice little move by Samuel, spinning back.
Stick around. Coming up at halftime, going to get a chance to talk to Georgia Bulldogs men's basketball coach Dennis Felton. Season tickets went on sale today. Samuel 4 of 27 rushing. So 1st and 10 from the 23-yard line. Pass thrown complete. And Chris Durham got his feet down inside the 15-yard line. Close to a first down, 9-yard pickup.
Just inside the 14 with 116 and a half.
Matthew Stafford throwing the ball very accurately today. And as we've talked about, fundamentally worked hard during the spring, stepping toward the target, making sure you're on balance, doing all the right things fundamentally. Looks like he's off to a great start. That completion percentage is going up.
Marino stopped right at the line of scrimmage. We'll see if the Bulldogs exercise a timeout here. They have one left. They might save that for a field goal attempt if they have to settle for that right here. Under a minute to play in the half. Durham already has 3 catches today. He had only 11 last year as a sophomore. Expect him to at least double, maybe triple that number this season.
See Georgia going with the big package there. They've got the 2 fullbacks, Chappis and Fields, in the game.
Bulldogs are going to be caught with a substitution violation right here. Mark Rick out there arguing his case with the referee, Ken Williamson. Not at all happy about that call, but the Bulldogs, I think, broke the huddle. They had 12 men and they broke the huddle. And Rick is upset about it. Actually, they're arguing with the linesman. Johnny Crawford wants to talk to the referee, and they're going to call it off. They're going to pick it up and wave it off. So Mark Rick won the case. Maybe that's what happens when you're ranked #1 in the nation. You win a few arguments.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's a competitor. I was talking to David Pollock recently, and the great David Pollock said this guy was the biggest competitor that he's ever been around, Mark Richt.
And Chris Hatcher now wants to talk to Ken Williamson. He's saying, what's this? I'm playing in front of 92,000 fans that hate my team, and you're going to give them a break like that? Yeah, Hatcher's like, hey, come on. Yep, he's not happy about it. Well, can't make them both happy.
Well, at least he's given his defense a little bit of a breather, complaining a little bit. Well, if it was in the courtroom, I guess Rick wins that case. It's probably advised by Sonny Silent.
3rd down and 1. Handoff went to Marino. Play got blown dead.
Another flag is thrown.
This game's come to a screeching halt.
And looks like it's going to be on the Bulldogs. So Georgia takes their short game package out of there. We were just talking about Justin Anderson. The Bulldogs had the extra offensive lineman out there for that blocking scheme, and he comes off the field. 7 penalties now for the Bulldogs, 35 yards. Now it's 3rd and 6 instead of that 3rd and 1. The Bulldogs go to more of a spread offense here with 3 wideouts. Moore, Muhammad Massaquoi, and Durham. They go to Moore. He's got the first down, and Moore inside the 5 and down to the 3. 16-yard pickup for Michael Moore.
Eagles bring the blitz from that wide side, and Stafford Moore working the slot there. That's right where the blitz came from. Stafford goes right to Moore in the void, and he makes some nice things happen there. You see the man coverage in the secondary there, avoiding the free safety, not giving the ball up. Well done by Michael Moore.
It was Brandon Eccles, the free safety, who was trying to strip Moore of the ball after the catch. Marino, and touchdown, Noshawn Marino. 2nd touchdown run of the afternoon for Noshawn Marino, and it's 23-0.
Well, 72-yard touchdown drive. Moreno caps it off, smelling that end zone. Tell you what, Mark Rick's got to be very happy thus far with the offense.
Noshawn Marino, 3-yard touchdown run. Blair Walsh, perfect on the PAT, and 24 seconds to play in the half. The Bulldogs have a 24-0 lead.
See, he runs over there to catch that fan there. I bet you that's some cold mist coming out there. And this is just power football here. Off the left side there, you see Vance and Tripp knocking them off the ball. Moreno finding the end zone.
That's the second time, at least the second time, I've seen Quentin Taylor, the linebacker for Georgia Southern, lose that helmet. He's got so much hair on his head. I've never seen a hairdo like Quentin Taylor. Hopefully we can get a good look at that before this game is over. He's got hair going all kind of directions, but I don't know how you get your helmet on.
Yeah, it makes it tough, doesn't it? Didn't you go with that style back in high school?
Not quite.
Yeah, that's the craziest do I've ever seen.
Quentin Taylor, a real player for Chris Hatcher's team, a senior who transferred into the program out of Ole Miss. That was a 7-play, 72-yard drive, took 2.5 minutes. As the Bulldogs have a 3-touchdown and field goal lead. Now let's see. We found Quentin. There it is. Quentin Taylor on the sideline. That's some hair right there.
Those are dreads, right?
I
You ought
guess.
to see the media guide. Pull the media guide out and take a look at that photograph.
He's out of Apopka, Florida.
He's a tough dude, too, man.
But you can see why the helmet pops off so often. It's hard to get your hair and your helmet all on and underneath there.
Yeah, nobody's going to tell him to change it. I can tell you that.
No, I don't think I would tell him.
His middle linebacker's just a little bit crazy.
Well, Blair Walsh set to kick off. I think the Bulldogs have to be happy not only with his place kicking, but also his kickoffs here today. This is a pooch kick in the no man's land. Let's see if the Eagles going to get on top of that. That's a great kick right there. I mean, that really is. I mean, we've seen the versatility of Blair Walsh, and that might get lost in a ball game like this today. But Walsh has been able to place that kickoff pretty much wherever he wants to put it. There's an open spot on the field. He's able to pinpoint that thing and drop it in.
Well, first kickoff, he puts it 5-7 yards deep in the end zone,
right,
so he can boom it. You got to work on that if you're a Central Michigan or a South Carolina. And then you also have to work on these little angle kicks where you've got to make sure you get that ball covered up. Makes you work on a lot of things there as far as your kickoff return team goes.
Well, Lee Chappell back in there at quarterback for the Eagles here for the final 24 seconds of this half. Handoff goes to Darrell Norman. Might have been the final play right there. Everybody takes 2 steps towards the locker room just to make sure Georgia Southern's not going to run another play. Clock ticks under 10 seconds. And that's going to be the end of the first half. Georgia with 10 points in the first quarter, 14 more in the second quarter. And let's go down on the field to Allison Williams.
Coach Rick, if there was a question surrounding your program, it's the youth at offensive line. How would you grade their performance in the first half?
From what I saw, not bad. We had a couple times we jumped, and I'm sure we made a few mistakes here and there, but when we did drop back and throw the football, Matthew seemed to have a good amount of time to do it. And anytime he had to scramble, it was more of a good coverage situation by Georgia Southern from what I saw. So to this point, I think they're doing a pretty decent job.
Stafford looked pretty solid in there at quarterback, but we also got to see Joe Cox. Why the decision to put him in?
Well, Joe deserves to play. He just earned the right to play, and at Georgia, if you earn the right to get in the game, then you get in there, and that's why Joe was in there. Unfortunately, we had the exchange issue with the true freshman back, but we'll get that ironed out.
All right, thanks, Coach Rick. Good luck in the second half, guys.
All right, thank you, Allison. Halftime here at Sanford Stadium. The Georgia Bulldogs with a convincing 24-0 lead on their in-state rivals, the Georgia Southern Eagles. No Sean Marino, a couple of touchdowns in that first half. Touchdown passes from Matthew Stafford, even a long field goal from Blair Walsh.
Well, here's a big play early. Stafford finding A.J. Green, that skinny post, and Moreno knocks it in from there.
There's Marino, first touchdown of the day for him. Georgia had a 7-0 lead, less than 3 minutes into the ball game. Big 32-yard punt return by Asher Allen set up the Bulldogs' second score, a field goal of 52 yards by Blair Walsh.
Very impressive debut by the freshman kicker. Nice kickoffs, and you see him drilling that 52-yarder with room to spare.
Donnell Ellerby coming up with the interception to thwart a rally by the Georgia Southern Eagles, and then Matthew Stafford right across the middle to Chris Durham, and it was a foot race that he won.
Well, when you can run the football, that play-action pass is going to give you some big plays there. And you got it with Durham, and now the screen pass. You're going to see that a lot this year with no Sean Moreno as a receiver.
And here is the second half kickoff as Justin Fields, the backup fullback, took the kick and brings it out to the 28-yard line. Buck, the first half stats, Georgia not much difference in the rushing yardage, but a big difference in the passing yardage.
Yeah, just you know, an elite difference there in the passing attacks here. Big plays in the passing game. 1 turnover apiece you see there. Georgia with 7 penalties. There'll be some things to clean up as they look ahead to next week.
Matthew Stafford in the first half. 10 of 14 for 206 and a touchdown. That one touchdown pass you saw a moment ago to Chris Durham. It's 1st and 10 for Georgia as they start at the 29.
Don't know if Matt could have played any better here in the first half.
Pump fake. He's got a man running wide open. Muhammad Massaquoi had to wait on it. And all the way down to the 25-yard line. Would have been 6. He had to wait for that thing to get to him. A.J. McCray finally caught up with him.
Yeah, a little double move there, and the Eagle cornerback bit on that first move. And Stafford, worst thing you can do here is overthrow the football. You got a wide open receiver down the field there, 10 yards behind coverage. So if you want to make a mistake, you underthrow it. You see Massaquoi holding on to make the grab.
So the Bulldogs have it 1st and 10 at the 24-yard line.
That freshman, A.J. McCray, bit on that first fake, and it was almost see you later.
47 yards on the pass play, and Matthew Stafford is getting close to his career high in passing, which was 267 yards. Marino gallops for the pylon and scores the touchdown.
Well, that's 2 plays, 71 yards and a touchdown. Well, I tell you, he is so exciting. So much energy he brings to this football team. You see him get tackled. He's the first man back to the huddle. The Energizer Bunny. And here's your zone read running play here. He makes one guy miss, and then it's off to the races. Looks like he's tightening up a little bit.
I think he's limping.
Hamstring.
He's struggling to get off the field. Blair Walsh puts it through, and it's 31-0. The 24-yard run by Noshawn Marino, but we might not see him anymore today. I think it's just a cramp. They're stretching him out.
Yeah, you don't want to pull that. Might have to see Caleb King here in the second half. I know Bulldog fans anxious to see what this kid has.
So Noshawn Marino with his 3rd touchdown run of the afternoon, a 24-yard touchdown run to match his number. And he's now at 59 yards on the afternoon. And he interrupted what I was telling you about Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford, career high of 267 yards passing as a freshman against Mississippi State. And Stafford's getting close to that number right now after that big 47-yarder. He's at 253 on the day.
We had right there Tripp and Vance down the field throwing. Looks like his ham just tightened up on him. Hopefully it's just a cramp. You don't want to pull or tear that thing right now.
Well, it's very hot down on the field, obviously. And, you know, after his last touchdown, his 2nd touchdown run, you saw him get to the bench as quickly as he possibly could to get down in front of those fans. So he's going to go right to the locker room, and we might not see him the rest of the day. But a very productive day. Look at that, 10 touches on the day and 112 yards.
Yeah, I think they're heading in. They'll do the IV thing and get those fluids in there.
So 31-0, Georgia leads less than a minute into this second half.
2 plays, 71 yards. That's big playability right there. Stafford, Massaquoi, Moreno. Big playability.
It'll be interesting to see if they're going to keep Stafford in long enough to get him his first 300-yard passing game. Pasco from the 10-yard line. Comes to the near sideline and got horse-collared by Akeem Dent.
See Noshawn reach back and grab the hamstring. Never a good sign. And he just came out of the locker room from taking a break. That's a little unusual.
And when I said that on that kickoff play right there that Akeem Dent horse-collared the returner, he did not technically horse collar because that's now a penalty in college football. They've adopted the NFL rule. You can't horse collar a player and tackle him anymore.
Yeah, the former Georgia running back Thomas Brown horse collared in that Falcons preseason game, injured his groin, I think, on the play.
So Antonio Hinton on offense, the quarterback for the Georgia Southern Eagles to start this 3rd quarter. He's going to the air, ball batted in the air at the line of scrimmage. We'll see who got a piece of it.
These young guys going to have to grow up quick there with Weston out and Owens hurt, injured today. And with this short passing game, you see Corey Irvin there getting his hands up. That's what you have to do. That ball's out of there by the time you can actually try to sack the quarterback. So you got to get the arms up. Make it difficult for the quarterback to throw that underneath stuff.
5 of 11 passing for Hinton in this ball game. 2nd down and 10.
Corby Irvin.
Hinton under heavy pressure throws it underneath to Terrence Hill, and Hill not going very far as Corby Irvin and Marcus Doughton were in on that tackle.
Got Lomax and Battle, the two defensive ends, meeting at the quarterback. They treated him nasty, too, getting him on the ground. See Hinton get rid of the football, and the two Georgia defensive ends remind him this is a full contact game.
3rd down and 9 for the Eagles. Hinton looks to the sideline to get the new set of signals from his offensive staff. Ranch Gillespie, the OC, and head coach Chris Hatcher. Hinton scrambling. Nowhere to go with it, and Doughton slings him out of bounds. Marcus Doughton, true freshman for the Bulldogs out of Fork Union, Virginia, played at Fork Union Military Academy, has seen a lot of playing time today.
A guy that can run. Willie Martinez calls guys like Doughton space eaters. They can run, really close the gap on these plays where the running back is out in open grass there. And you need those guys in the spread offense that can run and tackle.
Charlie Edwards has been one of the lone highlights for the Eagles today. 48.5 yards on his kicks, but at the same time, the Bulldogs have gotten a lot of returns on them too. This is a short kick. It takes a Georgia bounce sideways out of bounds, and the Bulldogs will take over around the 35-yard line. Their second possession, only a 29-yard kick. So naturally, right after you talk about what a fine day he's having, he has his worst kick of the day.
He's hit some bombs. Can't return those, though. That's the good thing about those shanks.
So the Georgia Bulldogs will take over at the 33-yard line. Let's see who they've got out there. Caleb King. Buck, he's making his first appearance in a regular season game right here. Number 4 lines up at tailback.
Thomas Brown told me over at the Falcons camp, this guy more elusive than Noshawn Moreno.
I saw him play in high school at Parkview and his junior year. He got hurt his senior year at Greater Atlanta Christian, but his junior year he was one of the top running backs in the nation, and he is very elusive. Not so much right there, straight ahead run, but did pick up about 4 yards on his very first carry.
Fans realize he got the ball. They're getting excited about Caleb King being in the ball game.
Redshirted last year. He's out of Norcross, Georgia, where he played first at Parkview High School and there at Greater Atlanta Christian his senior year.
They gave him the ball over at Parkview, didn't they? About 30 carries a game.
Yeah. He rushed for over 2,000 yards his junior year.
That's a lot of work.
In fact, he set the Georgia junior rushing record. Not much doing for Caleb King on that carry. And he's been hobbled during preseason camp too. He's been bothered by a hamstring himself. So Sean Chappis will check out of the ball game, the fullback, and they'll bring in another receiver on 3rd down and 6. Bulldogs are 2 of 4 on their 3rd downs here today. A.J. Green, Chris Durham, your wide receivers on the near side. Stafford going for Durham, and Durham makes the grab. Nope, dropped it. Ball hit the ground.
Well, the umpire down there very adamant about that ball hitting the ground. Georgia Southern rushed 3. They dropped 8 into coverage. And you see the ball there coming down. Durham hopping up with it, though, trying to make it look good. Maybe knock the breath out of him.
You land on top of that ball just right, that'll happen. Brian Mims, just his second punt of the day. 32 on his first. He had a great season last year. Averaged 42.4 on his kicks with a 37.9 net. Line drive kick that kicks sideways and then rolls for Georgia inside the 20-yard line, and the Eagles will take over right about there. And Donnell Ellerby headed to the locker room.
Well, you wonder about Donnell Ellerby heading to the locker room. Well, he's walking off, so it couldn't have been in the legs. Would be the problem. 4 or 5 tackles in the first half. He's the leader of that group out there in the middle of that defense. You wonder what's going on with him.
So far, no doubt, the most severe injury appears to be that of Jeff Owens, who left the ball game in the first quarter with a right knee injury, the severity of which has not yet been revealed and probably won't be today. I would imagine that we might not have that information before the end of the day, but you never know. And, of course,
that
no
would be
Sean
a tough
Marina.
loss.
And there's Kenneth Harris. He's on crutches. Didn't see what happened to him, but apparently something to his lower right leg.
It's a tough game.
Handoff by Hinton. And let's check in with Allison Williams.
Well, guys, it seems like this heat is really getting to the Bulldogs. No Sean obviously went to the locker room. So did Donnell Ellerby and Remarcus Brown, all complaining of camps. It may have something to do with being out here in the first half, being warm, then going inside at halftime, cooling down, and then trying to warm back up again as they get started for the second half. But all three of those guys suffering from cramps here.
All right, thank you, Allison. That's good news that it's nothing more than cramps for those guys. So 2nd down and 6. Hinton taking his time at the line of scrimmage, and Hinton has played the majority of this ball game at quarterback for the Eagles. Don't know if that's a sign of things to come. Samir Baker scrambles forward and close to a first down, picked up 8, and I believe he's got the first down yardage. He does.
Again, what you have here is, you know, the underneath passing game here. That ball's out of there quick, trying to find some holes in this Georgia zone coverage. Just pitch and catch, basically.
Well, Chris Hatcher was concerned that the Eagles would not be as good as they need to be fundamentally because of so many young players and so little time. He says they've had to actually cut back on the fundamental work that he would like to be getting in because they've had to work on scheming for this first game. But so far, from that standpoint, the Eagles have played, I think, fairly well. Just very difficult for this Georgia Southern team, which is a FCS program, Division I AA, whichever you choose to use, to play against a team that's #1 in the nation in the major college football rank.
Brandon Wood, nice job at defensive tackle there, getting off a block and making the tackle. 2-yard gain there. A lot of these young defensive linemen getting a lot of work for Georgia today.
Georgia Southern 7-4 a year ago, defeated Appalachian State, the 3-time defending national champions. Also beat Wofford, the 2 teams out of the Southern Conference that did make it into the 1AA playoffs.
A little tickled by Georgia Southern getting the play call in over there. They've got 2 players and 4 coaches signaling in. Only Hinton knows which one is hot.
Hinton scrambling, going down. Well, finally going down. And it's going to be 4th down for the Eagles.
And as I said hot, I did not mean good looking. But you got some dummy callers over there. You've got like 6 guys signaling in the play. See the pressure coming from all angles there on Hinton. Left, right, up the middle, look out, get down.
Well, 4 consecutive home games coming up for the Georgia Southern Eagles. There it is.
I mean, look at that.
All right, Buck, which one's telling the truth?
It's a good question.
3rd down now, 3rd down and 8. They're 3 of 11 on their 3rd downs. Eagles, as I mentioned, 4 home games coming up in consecutive weeks following this game here today. Here comes the blitz. Akeem Dent. Hinton got rid of it just before being brought down, and it's going to be 4th down. Akeem Dent, who already has half of a quarterback sack here today, nearly got himself another. Actually, I take that back as his sack got negated by a penalty.
Well, they bring him right up the middle. Nobody lays a hand on him. He's got a free run right to the quarterback. As you can see, Dent, very quick here, very athletic. You're not going to outrun him.
Eagles will host Austin Peay next week, and then Northeastern, followed by Elon, and then Wofford. And let's see, Rashad Jones is going to return this kick at the 27-yard line. Got a block and 2. Turns the corner. And brought down by the punter inside the 45-yard line. So Rashad Jones gets a chance to return a kick and does very well. 25 yards on that return.
Well, when they brought him in, I tell you, one of the most talented players in the country a few years ago. He has refined his skills, polished them up, and now he's getting a chance this season to be all the player that he can be. Tremendous safety and also a dangerous return man.
Out of Washington High School in the city of Atlanta. Stafford throwing, and Trip Chandler tried to make a one-handed grab. One of the few times that Stafford hasn't been right on the money.
Stafford cramping up right now, too. It's like he's having a problem with his calf. He's trying to stretch it out and stay in the ball game. Might want to get Joe Cox ready. Yeah, Mike Bobo not very happy over here next to us in the coaching box.
Tavares King, Michael Moore split out at wide receiver. Caleb King, the lone back, gets the ball. Caleb King with lots of room to run. Made one man miss, made another miss. Played Olay with two Eagles defenders and got inside the 15-yard line. A 27-yard pickup for Caleb King.
Elusive is his game. It's hard to get a hand on him. He's going to make you miss. And you see that talent right here. A little draw play. And he hits that seam. And I tell you what, you better swarm this guy because he's making the guy in the open field miss. Little cutback. He's got a nice lane there. They seal that off backside, and he makes it happen. Got Troop getting in the way.
Yeah, Israel Troop is the other wide receiver in the mix. He's in the, I think this is the first series that he's been involved with. Caleb King down to the 5. 10-yard pickup for Caleb King. You'll remember a year ago against Oklahoma State, Noshawn Marino was the third back in the game. Today it's Caleb King.
Well, offensive line, fullback doing a nice job there. Tight end also in on that strong side running play. Right over there, Josh Anderson in there at right tackle, a big boy, getting some snaps there. Caleb King following those big guys. They're opening some cracks in this Georgia Southern front seven.
2nd down and 1 now for the Bulldogs.
Got Ben Jones in there at center, the true freshman.
Justin Anderson at right tackle. Stafford pump fake, throws, touchdown. Israel Troop with the touchdown grab in the back of the end zone. I'm sorry, D'Amico Goodman, number 85, not number 28. Eyesight failing me. D'Amico Goodman with the touchdown grab, and it's 37-0.
Well, easy money here. Stafford play action fake. And Goodman just back in the back of the end zone, finding a little soft spot. And he's very happy about that touchdown catch.
38-0. 6:07 to play in the third quarter. Georgia now leading Georgia Southern 38-0. Matthew Stafford with his 2nd touchdown pass of the game. Noshawn Marino's got a couple of touchdown runs. Stafford a very efficient day as he is approaching 300 yards passing on the afternoon. 4 plays, 41 yards as Stafford is at 258. Let's check in with Allison Williams.
Guys, you just saw Matthew Stafford lead his team down the field for a touchdown, and his role as the leader is something he's really developed into. He said the first year it was hard to say a whole lot because there were so many more guys that had a lot more years in the system than he did. Second year, he tried to just go out there and lead by example, show that he was capable of doing this job. But he said this year he feels like this really is his team, and he's a better leader because he's more confident, not just in himself, but in the system. Both he and offensive coordinator Coach Bobo said that the teammates are picking up on that and they're really responding to and rallying around him. And guys, Noshawn Marino just ran back out on the field for the Bulldogs as well.
We saw him make his way out onto the field, and you know, Coach Rick says with Matthew Stafford, he now has the ability to be able to tell a teammate who's lost where he needs to go and get him into the play.
Well, it's a natural progression. As a freshman, you can't lead. As a sophomore, you're reluctant to lead. And as a 3-year starter quarterback coming into your junior year, you're expected to lead the way, and that's where he's at right now. Talking with Mike Bobo right there, getting some things straightened out. He might be told there his day could be done.
Well, if he is, he's going to be a little bit shy of his career passing high. Noshawn went in there, got the hamstring taken care of, and now he's dancing. From the 11. 47. That's Pasco. No, actually, that's Samir Baker. And Baker up to the 32-yard line. And that's where the Eagles will start this possession. There is a flag down on the field. You see Noshawn 59 yards rushing, and he has another 50-something through the passing game, too.
Darrell Campbell on the tackle there on Georgia's coverage team.
Dead ball foul, personal foul, number 39 of the kicking team, 15 yards into the run, 1st and 10.
Nick Williams called for the personal foul. Watch number 39. That's where it happened.
You see Gamble running him down there. You got a linebacker that's going to run down a return man. That's pretty athletic stuff there.
Yeah, Nick Williams came flying in well after the play was done and got a piece of Samir Baker. So 15-yard mark off gives the Eagles the ball at the 47-yard line, and Lee Chappell's back in there in quarterback. Chappell going up top looking for Hall, and Terrence Hall couldn't get to it. Looked like Brian Evans might have tipped that ball right as it got there.
One of the first times they've taken a shot down the field. Georgia's corners have come out knowing that Georgia Southern wants to throw a lot of underneath stuff. They've played some tight coverage, and because of that, I think you now see Hatcher taking some shots down the field.
So 2nd down and 10 for the Eagles. We are now under 6 minutes to play in the 3rd quarter. Georgia, of course, will be back in action here at Sanford Stadium next Saturday when they welcome Central Michigan. Chappell firing, throws underneath, and it's complete. That completion. Leander Barney making the grab. Leander Barney, a highly prized recruit for them out of Irmo, South Carolina. A young man that they actually brought into the program to kind of be a Jason Foster type quarterback with them, and actually has converted to running back at his request. Chappell up top, overthrows his man, looking out there for Michael McIntosh, who transferred to the Georgia Southern program from the University of Florida.
Chappell, a 3-year starter at Greater Atlanta Christian and Norcross, threw for over 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns in those 3 seasons running their offense. Won the job in the spring. That was before Hinton made the move down.
Chappell from Greater Atlanta Christian, same school that produced Brandon Sutherland. Chappell played with Brandon's little brother there. Chappell gunning and complete. Marcus Russ with the catch and a 1st down for the Eagles on a 20-yard pickup inside the 30-yard line.
Well, just no pressure on Chappell there. He's got all the time he wants back there. Very comfortable in the pocket. Georgia looked like a cover 2 where you got the corner up, the safety on the hash, and Chappell just finds the void in between the 2 zone defenders. Well executed play.
Darrell Norman bounces off one man and changes direction with some room to run inside the 15. Got by Brian Evans and finally run down by Prince Miller at the 1-yard line. 26-yard pickup for Darrell Norman.
Nice little cutback here. He just bounces it out. He sees all that green grass, and I'm going to take it. Makes the guy miss. Martinez won't be happy with Evans on that play. Prince Miller trying to strip. And the shutout might be disappearing here any moment.
And a Bulldog player down on the field, Andrew Williams, or Drew Williams, the senior, getting some time to play here at safety with Quentin Banks out with a knee injury. Been in the program a long time, has really been a special teams ace for the Bulldogs his first 3 seasons in the program. You see Andrew right there at the tail end of the play. Looked like he went hard on his left knee.
Yeah, looks like he kicked him in the butt or the buttocks. No, seriously. That hurts.
Thank you, Forrest, for that medical opinion, diagnosis of his injury. Drew Williams out of Union County High School, Blairsville, Georgia, up in the North Georgia mountains. Looks like if he was indeed kicked in the buttocks, he's going to be okay.
That's beautiful country there, Blairsville.
Up there around Lake Notley.
Yeah, that's beautiful country.
First and goal to go for the Eagles at the 1-yard line. Lee Chappell trying to get Georgia Southern in the end zone for the first time today. Chappell got in. Touchdown for Lee Chappell, and it's 38-6.
Just a good football play right there. Got a quarterback that can maneuver a little bit, knows where the end zone is. Georgia, you can just feel the intensity is really taking a step back after they went up 38-0. Laid back atmosphere suddenly at Sanford Stadium.
Jesse Hartley on for the PAT, and he puts it through. And with 4 minutes and 27 seconds to play in the third quarter, Georgia Southern gets on the board as they cut the Bulldogs' lead to 38-7. And welcome back to Sanford Stadium. Matt Stewart, Buck Bellew, Allison Williams with you. Georgia with the 38-7 lead on the Georgia Southern Eagles. And all things said and done, with an opponent the Bulldogs are supposed to beat, and beat rather handily, I think Georgia has been very efficient in their approach this ball game today, offensively and defensively.
Yeah, really the only negative, the injuries that we've seen thus far. Owens could be a big loss if indeed his knee is blown out there. Prayers going out to his family as they try to deal with some of that. But other than that, it's been pretty impressive stuff by Georgia.
Yeah, see Brian Evans going to the locker room right now. Noshawn Marino's had an effective day. He went to the locker room for a little bit, looked like a hamstring, but he's back out on the field. In fact, he's already been dancing around. Richard Samuel had a little hiccup there. He fumbled the ball, but Caleb Keene got in the ball game for the first time and has had a good game.
Yeah, these young players, very impressive. As a matter of fact, I feel like I'm cramping up here in the press box. Can we get some fluids up here?
And let's not forget about A.J. Green. We called his name back in the first quarter, had a big 30-plus yard reception to get the Bulldogs and set up their first touchdown, get him inside that 5-yard line, but we haven't seen him since. I haven't seen him make a play since, we should say. He's been on the field. Yeah, well, he showed that he can make plays, and that's one thing you can take advantage of down. Get the young man some confidence, and he's going to make some plays for you down the road. Well, some of the crowd here, the 92,000 plus, have decided to get on out of here and try to beat the traffic. Maybe some of them going down to the Georgia Dome to watch Alabama and Clemson play, like Mark Richt's going to do later on today. Coach Richt going to get out of here as soon as he can get done with all of his duties and go down and watch John play. John's not actually going to play, his son, but he's a redshirt there at Clemson and will be suited up. So he'll be there for his first college football game.
Yeah, these fans will have to drive. I'm sure Coach Richt will have like a helicopter landing over there by the Georgia Dome to get him there. Really, you know, what a great moment for Coach Richt to have his son there at Clemson and to be a part of that. You know, he's going to take the coach's hat off after he gets through with these responsibilities after the game with the media. And then he just becomes a father later today. And because the Georgia Bulldogs will be playing the Alabama Crimson Tide at the end of this month, or in the end of the next month, September 27th, he approached Nick Saban about it, wanted to make sure everything was on the up and up, wanted to assure Nick Saban that, you know, he wasn't going over there to try to get a sneak scouting report on the Crimson Tide. And Nick Saban, of course, very understanding. He said, yeah, sure, watch your son play. You've got my blessing. Stafford throwing underneath, or throwing in the middle through short is what I was trying to say, and the intended target was Trip Chandler. Well, he's lucky he didn't get killed right there. You had somebody swing and miss there, and Roderick Tinsley, the freshman from Soperton, had a free shot at Matthew Stafford, and he swung and missed here. You see Caleb King? Maybe one of the reasons why he didn't get a lot of early playing time. Part of the running back spot is to help protect your quarterback when you've got a pass play on. Maybe a missed assignment there, late getting to the Georgia Southern defensive lineman. Roderick Tinsley, a true freshman out of Trutland High School. Handoff goes to Caleb King. Not much doing on that play. And Tinsley got a good rush on Stafford, but you got to complete the play. You can't just try to knock down a quarterback, certainly not a quarterback that's rolling about 240. You got to wrap him up and bring him down. Well, yeah, you know, he was thinking about putting a big shot on Stafford. Matt doing a nice job anticipating or feeling the pressure, able to avoid that sack. 3rd down and 7. Approaching 3.5 minutes to play here in the 3rd quarter. We've already seen a lot of players here today. Do you think we'll see a 3rd-team quarterback in Logan Gray? I would say yes. Complete to D'Amico Goodman. 2nd catch of the day for D'Amico.
as D'Amico gets up to the 47-yard line and a first down on the 17-yard pickup. D'Amico had only 7 catches last year. He's got already 2 here on opening day.
Shotgun and just trying to get it downfield a little bit here. Goodman working that middle part of the field, and a lot of grass there. That was easy money for Stafford, picking out D'Amico, and really good protection. Some of the backup young players in there. Tanner Strickland getting some work there at left guard. Ben Jones, I believe, in the game there. Big Anderson there at right tackle.
Stafford now a career-high 275 yards passing. Hand off Caleb King, got stuck right at the line of scrimmage, and there's Roderick Tinsley. That time he wrapped up.
By number 94.
There's that career high we were just telling you about, 275. Let's see if he gets that 300 game, if for no other reason to keep guys like from me saying that he's never had a 300 game.
Well, if you're just looking at stats, he's not going to be able to match up with the kid from Texas Tech or, you know, some of these teams that are going to be throwing it 30, 40, 50 times a game. They're about play action, running the football, and he's been awesome within this system.
Second down and 12. Caleb King again. King using some muscle this time to get across the 50-yard line. Picked up 8 on the play.
They list King at 212, but I tell you what, he plays a lot bigger than that.
Third down and 5 for the Bulldogs coming up here.
Bring up 3rd and 5 for the Bulldogs.
You know, we started the show talking about how the Bulldogs had 4 first-year starters, or guys making their first start on the offensive line. But you'll remember last year, you know, they had 3 freshman starters last year and came within an eyelash of playing for the national championship. Bulldogs 3 of 6 on 3rd down. A.J. Green was battling Pasco for the ball. Actually, that was not Pasco that he was battling, but lost the battle nonetheless. That was Carson Hill, the other cornerback.
Well, Carson 5'10", and A.J. Green a good 6'4", and you know he can leap. Matthew Stafford just giving him a chance to go up and make a play. I was afraid Green would get caught with offensive interference, pushing off there, something you see these freshman receivers doing. Matt's got to hang that ball out a little deeper.
4th down here. A.J. Green a little frustrated, thought he had himself a big catch.
See Coach Eason there patting him on the back. Kid, it's going to be okay.
A.J. Green played at Summerville. They were beaten by Burns High School in the South Carolina State Championship game last December. We saw Burns here on CSS last night, and boy, what an impressive ball club they are with Chase Dodd at quarterback. Marcus Lattimore, the junior running back. He might be the best junior running back in the nation. I know, according to Rivals.com, the Bulldogs have offered him, but about 8 or 9 other schools have too. Let's check in with Allison Williams.
Well, guys, Coach Richt joined 4 other college coaches on a tour visiting military bases in the Middle East this summer. He visited with several soldiers, some who were injured. They held a question and answer session, even coached a flag football game, which he, along with Tommy Tuberville, of course, won. And he said he definitely will draw on that experience and messages from the soldiers to motivate this team down the line as they get into some of their bigger matchups. Of course, he didn't need much motivation today. It was more about focus. But he said the time he spent there will definitely be used to get these guys hyped up.
Thank you, Allison. Terrell Norman on the carry. Not going very far. That's DeMarcus Dobbs in on that tackle that time.
Now, we've had a lot of troops over in that area emailing me at the 680thefan.com. Some people listening to the Georgia Bulldog Talk. Even these troops that follow Georgia football excited about this season.
I thought they were emailing you about that big billboard you got on Highway 316 wearing the eye black and the sweatbands there, Buck.
Yeah, I haven't
like you're
seen
ready
that yet.
Yeah, you look like you're ready to play again. Tim Camp with the catch at the 41-yard line. So all our viewers around the southeast, if you're driving up 316, make sure you get a big eyeful of Buck Bellew there. You can't miss it.
Don't wreck the car.
It's about 10 stories tall. For Pete's sakes, it's like that Joey Harrington billboard they hung up in New York. It's gigantic, Buck.
Well, back to the game. Lee Chappell, a great job there.
I want
under
to talk
pressure.
about that, Buck.
Under pressure, back in the pocket. The young man made a big play there. Draped all over him. He still gets it downfield for the first down completion.
That's Norman with the ball carry up to the 50-yard line. Might have been the final play of the 3rd quarter.
Norman from Lincoln County. Talk about good programs, man. They've won a ton of football games over there.
Yeah, they had a running back there at one time named Garrison Hurst.
He was a good one.
And every one of them, including Darrell Norman, played for Larry Campbell. He's been coaching there as long as they've been playing football, I think. That's the end of the third quarter. 45 minutes in the books at Sanford Stadium. Been a very impressive opening day for the #1 team in the country. The Georgia Bulldogs. Muhammad Massaquoi, big catch today. Matthew Stafford, close to 300 yards passing. Noshawn Marino, 3 touchdown runs. Even Caleb King showing his stuff. 38-7 as we go to the final quarter. Marcus Russ with the catch, gets inside the 30-yard line for the Eagles. And, you know, that's something that Mark Richt has talked about, especially with Matthew Stafford and Noshawn Marino as you take a look at this play.
Yeah, one of those little quick wide receiver hitches. You get those receivers out there blocking. And it's sort of like a 3-on-4 type situation out there. You avoid all those big boys on the line of scrimmage with that play.
So 1st and 10, ball at the 28-yard line. Handoff goes to Jarrell Crawford. Not much doing, but, you know, Mark Richt has talked about that with Stafford and Marino, who really, it's hard to imagine with the great popularity of David Green and David Pollock, but I believe that Stafford and Marino have eclipsed it. If not, you know, if they have not, they have come close to that. They have tremendous popularity, and, you know, it's very difficult, and that's one of the things he's talked to them about is, you know, trying to find some privacy, some time for yourself, and being very careful about the friends you choose.
I was lucky up here. I had a grandmother living here alone on Millage, so when I needed to get away, you know, a family member close by is really a comfortable thing to have.
2nd down, ball complete at the 22-yard line. Big upset in college football on opening day. Skip Holtz's East Carolina Pirates out of Conference USA knock off the Virginia Tech Hokies. You'll remember last year, East Carolina played them very tough. Well, today the Pirates got the better of them.
Wow.
The defending ACC champions knocked off. Chappell going for the end zone, and a jump ball broken up by Vince Cuff. Flag down on the play.
Well, good throw. You saw Chappell gave his receiver a chance to come down and make a play, but Cuff, very impressive kid out of Moultrie, Colquitt County High School, one of those tough South Georgia boys, goes up and makes a nice little play on the ball.
Colquitt County produced.
On the defense, 5-yard penalty, result in a 1st down.
Ray Goff's hometown
Yeah, I was
down
getting
there,
ready to say, the
great quarterback.
1976 SEC Player of the Year. I was going to see if anybody remembered who that was.
Now they got that Hoover head coach down there at Colquitt County running the show.
Yeah, Russ Probst. Yeah. Should make things interesting. In Region 1, what a region that is. You got Lowndes and you have Northside Warner Robins, 2 teams that are ranked in the national top 25 in the same region.
You better come to play there.
Not to mention Valdosta, your alma mater.
Thank you.
Got to throw him a bone.
Yeah, you're talking about the used to be Wintersville. Now with a big award coming their way from ESPN this summer.
Yeah.
Titletown, baby.
Titletown, USA for Valdosta. Well, you got the Valdosta Wildcats. You got the Lowndes Vikings.
Valdosta State has won some national titles there in
D2
football.
title.
Yeah.
Yep. You're right.
Look at UGA 7 in there. He sort of called it a day. Disinterested now with his 38-7 win. That ice has cooled things off.
You know, it's his first game. He's, you know, not maybe quite as tough as UGA 6. Got to get a little seasoning under his collar.
Blitz.
Pass complete to Jarrell Crawford. Crawford inside the 5-yard line.
Georgia bringing the heat that time. Dial up the blitz. Trying to get a free shot in at the quarterback, and they allow that little slot back to get out there uncovered. Now it's just time to react and try to get him out of bounds, which they do. This is why, you know, you got to be a tough guy to play this position. Even after you throw the ball, you're going to take some of those big shots.
Darrell Gamble came up with the near quarterback sack. It's Darrell Norman stopped inside the 5-yard line. No gain on that play. Corby Irvin making the tackle. You know, Darrell Gamble, you know, people don't talk much about Darrell, and he got a start here today. Darrell Gamble might have had the play of the season last year. You'll remember Vanderbilt was driving towards the go-ahead touchdown in that ball game in Nashville. Late in the ball game, it was Gamble that ended up stripping the running back inside the 10-yard line. The Bulldogs went down and kicked the game-winning field goal. If he doesn't make that strip, who knows what might happen as Chappell tries to use his helmet as a battering ram and gets stopped inside the 2-yard line.
Gamble in on that tackle. Our numbers say he's got 7 tackles today. Gamble, Bainbridge, another one of the South Georgia boys coming to Athens.
Looks like he might have been shaken up a little bit.
He and Corby Irvin have really played some good football on defense today.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I felt like Corby Irvin has had himself a really good ball game. This will be the 12th play of the drive coming up for the Eagles. Owens went down early. The Bulldogs were already out Weston, so Irvin has stepped forward and probably had his finest game as a Bulldog. Pitch goes to Baker, touchdown. Samir Baker gets into the end zone, and it's 38-13.
Just bouncing around in there like a ping pong ball at 165 pounds. Bounces around into the end zone here. Just pitch sweep. Got a chance to come inside or take it out. See Doughton with a shot in on him, but he just bounces off right in the end zone.
PAT. And 3 minutes and 27 seconds into the fourth quarter, the Georgia Southern Eagles find the end zone for the second time today. Bulldogs up by 24. Kickoff will be taken by Remarcus Brown at the 4-yard line. Well, I would say anybody that says that is Remarcus Brown gets it out 22 yards and Joe Cox comes out to lead the offense for the rest of this ball game. I would say anybody who says that didn't stop and watch the game on pay-per-view, did they?
Probably not. You know what I like to see coaches do when you play the backups here, you don't go in and just fall on the football. These guys have worked hard. Give them a chance to run the offense, and if the other coach doesn't like it, the heck with it. You're trying to get these guys ready to play. You can't do that just playing it safe. Turn them loose. Let them play football.
Handoff, Caleb King. Big hole for Caleb King. And he finally gets brought down from behind at the 45-yard line by Chris Covington. A 19-yard pickup for Caleb King.
Little sprint draw to the weak side here. Just a big bounce hole there for Caleb. Really all he has to do is run.
He's now the leading rusher for the Bulldogs today. 68 yards on 9 carries.
We'll see what he did. He let everybody else get tired, and then he's fresh coming in there looking sharp.
1st and 10. Kind of reminiscent of a year ago when Noshawn Marino was the leading rusher for the Bulldogs when he was the 3rd guy into the ball game at running back. Here's Caleb King again. The shifty Caleb King works his way down to the 36-yard line.
I'm having a flashback here. I'm thinking Champ Bailey.
Yeah,
looking smooth with these cuts, accelerating out of the cut, and that's where he's blessed right here. You see him fight through the tackle, makes the cut. Look at that cut, right on a dime there. Can you say that still? Right on a dime?
Man, he's got a shot at a 100-yard rushing day.
Well, good for him.
86 yards on 9 carries now. 1st and 10 at the 36.
You better have 2-3 running backs in this league.
Joe Cox on the keeper this time. Coxey has the first down. Flags are down, however.
Number 14, Joe Cox around right in for the first down to check the flag.
So Joe Cox has himself a nice little first down run that will be negated by the penalty.
He probably doesn't mind that. We'll probably get him in some passing situations here. Get a chance to throw it to these talented young receivers. A.J. Green, DeVar's King in the game.
10 yards and spot a foul. Repeat first down.
Been a while, but Joe Cox, people will remember, was the SEC freshman of the week a couple of years ago when he led the Georgia Bulldogs back. You saw the holding out there by Justin Anderson, number 79.
Searles won't like that.
Remember when he led the Bulldogs back against the Colorado Buffaloes. Colorado came in here and nearly upset Georgia a couple of years ago, and he brought them back in the 4th quarter with a couple of touchdowns. Caleb King gets stopped in his tracks right there. That was B.J. Shippey and David Lewis in on those tackles.
Just power football here. I formation lead. You see Cordy Glenn not really doing much on that play. They got pushed around.
Number 53, David Lewis, a teammate of at Creekside High School. Eric Berry, the star at Tennessee now. And B.J. Shippey was a freshman, a senior just a year ago at Gaffney High School, one of the powerhouses in the state of South Carolina. Pass thrown to Caleb King, and he was wrapped up almost immediately. Had Roderick Tinsley draped all over him.
He sniffed that one out. I bet maybe the defensive coordinator at Southern may have whispered in there, screen pass, screen pass. You see, read it. Good recognition there.
You know, in Georgia Southern down by 24 points. I mean, I think Chris Hatcher with this very young team has seen some good stuff from a couple of his players. Bulldogs 3 of 7 on their third downs. This is a 3rd and 18 now for Georgia.
Eagles playing hard.
I think Tinsley is a guy that, you know, his first game ever, just a freshman, has played fairly well for the Eagles. Pass is stuck in there to Michael Moore, and then he got stuck at the 12-yard line. A first down for the Bulldogs.
Boy, he absorbed the blow from 3 guys. McCray, one of those guys, getting a shot in on Moore, and just a beautiful throw. Joe Cox sees coverage. He knows where he's going with the football. It's that seam route down the middle, and he just drops it in there really nice. Between the 2 safeties, over the top of the underneath coverage there, shadowing Moore as he goes down the field. Cox with a brilliant throw there.
1st and 10 at the 11-yard line. Talking to Mark Rick this week about the young freshman wide receivers. He said, yeah, we're anxious to see them play, but they haven't been in there and gotten splattered over the middle, just like Michael Moore just got splattered over the middle and held on to it. Caleb King's spin move gets down to the 3-yard line.
Flag down. Joe Cox, though, looking good there. He backs off a recovered receiver, checks down, comes off the primary, goes to a secondary receiver. He's played some. He looks like a real veteran back there at quarterback.
Well, he is. He's a very valuable backup quarterback, you know.
Played a ton of high school football. You know all about that.
And there's some NFL teams that would like to have as talented and quality a backup as the Bulldogs have in Joe Cox.
They really believe in him. They believe, God forbid, anything happens to Stafford, Joe Cox can get the job done.
You know, and there's people who say, and I'm not trying to start anything by saying this, but there are people out there who believe that if the Bulldogs do go on to have a great season, that Matthew Stafford might go to the NFL early. And if that were the case, then Joe Cox would be your starting quarterback next year, which would not be a horrible thing for the Georgia Bulldogs.
They're not afraid of that. You see the 11 penalties, something they'll have to clean up before they get to Columbia, South Carolina in a couple of weeks.
1st and 15 now for Georgia. Toss goes to Caleb King, skips by a man, and gets back inside the 5-yard line. Got it all back on that one play. That's a 13-yard gain for Caleb King, and that puts him at 99 yards on the day.
Sort of a quiet acceleration, a lot like Champ Bailey used to. It sort of glides with his cuts and really accelerates through there, sort of deceiving how fast he's really moving.
Yeah, I think that's a great observation, that you'll watch him play, and it doesn't look like he's playing that hard, but nobody can touch him. 9 yards a carry today. Cox going for the fade to A.J. Green. Catch! Wow! He was in a wrestling match with Carson Hill in the end zone and won it, got the touchdown, the first of his college football career. And it's 44-14.
Well, quick fade route. Now he's got one-on-one out here on the cover, and advantage to the 6'4" freshman receiver. Going up, using his body to shield off the corner, and Joe Cox just putting it in a place where he can bring it down. Look at the wingspan out of A.J. Green.
Blair Walsh puts it through, and with 7 minutes and 46 seconds to play in this ball game, Georgia has a 45-14 lead. So Georgia up by 31 now. Maybe that'll keep guys like your buddy on the radio off the Bulldogs' back this week.
It's all
He's
about
the guy
numbers.
that, he always looks at the point spread, doesn't he?
What was the point spread in this game? I don't think there was one.
Probably not. Pass go deep for the Eagles. Blair Walsh ready to kick off. Short kick, And this is going to be taken by Baker at the 13-yard line. Samir Baker. And Baker gets across the 30 to the 32. Let's check in with Allison Williams.
Guys, this is obviously a very excited Georgia Bulldogs team, but there's a bit of a solemn undertone. The JW you can see there on the Bulldogs helmets are to honor teammate Josh Willis, who was killed in a car accident in February. Willis was a walk-on long snapper from Americus, Georgia, and the team will wear his initials on their helmets for the first 2 weeks of the season.
Thank you, Allison. Indeed, touching moment here for the Bulldogs to recognize their fallen teammate.
Love the American flag on the back of the helmet, too.
Ball at the 31-yard line. Lee Chappell throws and off the hands of Tim Camp. Had him sit down right underneath, and Chappell put a little bit too much mustard on it.
This will be some good work for the Georgia defense as you see another look at the emblems on the back of the helmet. Next week, they're going to face Central Michigan. They've got Dan Lefevre at quarterback. Threw for over 3,000 yards last year. They got off to a big start. Big win over Eastern Illinois on Thursday night. Lefevre and Brian Anderson, big-time receiver. Central Michigan will be throwing the ball a heck of a lot next Saturday right here at Sanford Stadium. So good work here at the end of the game, getting some pressure on the quarterback.
Second down and 10, in and out of the hands of Camp again, or was that, yeah, that was Camp. No, Leander Barney had his jersey rolled up there. It was hard to see his number.
Hakeem Habron making the play there at the outside linebacker spot.
Eagles 4 out of 14 on their third down conversions here today. This is a 3rd and 10. Chappell, heavy rush, quarterback sack for the Bulldogs. Andrew Gully was in on that thing. I think, however, it was DeMarcus Dobbs who got there first.
Number 98,
Ricardo Crawford in on the play. A lot of young kids out on the field right now.
I think that's the second quarterback sack officially for the Bulldogs today. They had another one that was arrest. Hey, 4? Okay, well, wow. I lost track of them here. Let's see who's deep for the Bulldogs this time.
Logan Gray.
Yeah, Logan Gray, the third-team quarterback.
Don't see that much, do you?
Not since the days of Joe Theismann. Mad Stewart, Buck Ballou, Allison Williams back with you as we have 6.5 minutes to play in this one. The number 1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs leading Georgia Southern by a score of 45-14. After Central Michigan, the Bulldogs will be on the road consecutive weeks at South Carolina and in Tempe, Arizona against Arizona State. Bulldogs with a very difficult road if they are going to get to Miami. UGA 7 apparently finished with his mid-afternoon nap out of the doghouse. Doing a little photo op there.
Yeah, looks like he's going to be just fine. Harry Dog, a little more personality than UGA 7.
Very stoic, that Bulldog.
Yeah, that's concrete there.
Rock solid.
Guess that's the dog pound. Then.
Pitch, Caleb King. And didn't quite get to 100 right there. He lost some yardage.
Yeah, reverting back to some of those high school days where you can always reverse the field and pick up another 30, 40 yards. Here in college football, though, rare you're going to be able to do that.
Yeah, the freshman nose tackle, Brent Russell, grabbing his right leg. Young man out of Madison County High School, not far from the Athens area. Bowman, Georgia. And he's another one that, you know, Chris Hatcher says he's going to be really good. And, you know, you got to be if you're going to be starting your very first college football game.
They're testing that knee right now, seeing if it's stable. That knee not really built for football.
You can watch this game along with other SEC replays every week on CSS. Don't miss Georgia replays every Monday at noon and 9 o'clock Eastern. You can also see this game tomorrow at a special replay time, 11 a.m. Eastern here on Labor Day weekend. CSS is only available on cable. If you have a satellite, you're missing out. Contact your local cable provider for details. So they help Brent Russell off the field, and hopefully he's going to be okay. We saw Georgia a similar situation with their defensive tackle.
Look at the size of those calves.
I thought that was his thigh.
I mean, that's massive.
That thing is big. Second down and 11. Hopefully he's going to be okay. Tight end Aaron White, third-team tight end out of Rockbridge High School in Columbia, Missouri, was a teammate of Logan Gray there. Aaron White in the ball game at tight end. Pass is complete to Sean Chappis. He gets dropped back at the 20-yard line, and there's a flag down on the field as well.
49, Sean Chappis. There's a flag on the play.
Those flags slow down the game a little bit.
Yeah, Georgia's had their share of penalties today. They are now at 11 for 70 yards, pending what this call is going to be. A.J. Green, D'Amico Goodman going to check back in the ball game.
6 players on the line of scrimmage for the offense. Penalties declined. Third down.
Well, I'm sure the reporters will be all over that. They're always looking for something to complain about.
You remember Donnin's first game, Coach Donnin here. They played Southern Miss. A lot of cramps that day. And I remember the post-game interview, Lauren Smith asked Jim Donnin about the cramps, and Coach Donnin basically said, we just won a football game here, and you want to ask me that.
Third down and 16, handoff to Richard Samuel. Helmet off.
22, Richard Samuel, long area.
Let's see who that one belongs to. Samuel was the second tailback used today, but his day pales in comparison to that of Caleb King, who is going to be the leading rusher for the Bulldogs today. That was Markeith Wiley, who lost his helmet, by the way, in case you were concerned. And Brian Mims is on the punt for the third time. And Urbano stands at the 31-yard line. And a Bulldog down on the field. Let's see if he's okay. He went down like he got hit by sniper fire. Looks like that's Brandon Boykin, the freshman. I mean, he went down like someone picked him off with a rifle or something.
Well, we don't need that now.
That's just a figure of speech there, Buck.
Yeah, he's got to be cramping up, huh? I mean, I'm starting to feel it up here in the press box. This hamstring's tightening up a little bit.
You got to stay hydrated.
Need one of those sports drinks up here.
Diet Coke, it's good for you. I don't think so. I think this is probably the worst thing for you to drink, right?
You know, it's been cool, and it affects us broadcasters too.
Yeah, I mean, now we've been conditioning the last couple of weeks. You know, we had our first show of Dog Report this week, and we talked about that in our pre-show meeting about how we needed to stay hydrated going into our opener against Georgia Southern.
Well, I voted for the CSS golf shirt, but I was outvoted with the shirt and the tie today. So just going to have to toughen up and go with it.
You know, people often refer to Sanford Stadium as a cathedral, and I felt we needed to dress a cathedral of football. So
I fell in line.
We needed to dress appropriately. So it looks like Boykin, they're going to get him to the sideline, and hopefully it is just a cramp. It looks like that might be the case, and he's going to join the long line of Georgia Bulldogs who have needed some extra fluids here today.
Brought a little sweat rag, too. You need one of those on a hot day.
Yep.
You got any of that Coke left?
Hinton back in there at quarterback, slings it out there. It's complete to Terrence Hill. Terrence Hall, I should say.
Well, Marcus Brown in there fighting. Got him another tackle, number 11.
Marcus Brown with the covers for the Dogs.
They are deep in the secondary with good-looking players back there. This defense really deep across the board.
So second down and 11 as we will click under 4 minutes by the time this play is completed.
You're going to see a lot of this season. The spread, teams up at the line of scrimmage, waiting to see where that defense aligns in, and then looking to the sideline for the play call. I hate that.
I think, remember we did the game with Troy last week. Last year, I should say. Pass is complete to Marcus Russ, and he gets down to the 35-yard line. Vince Cuff had kind of jumped the route a little bit and looked like he had an interception, and it got through his hands.
20-yard play there. That, yeah, just sort of misjudged the flight of the ball there. Cuff thinking interception, just barely got over it.
So 1st and 10 for the Eagles at the 35-yard line.
There you see the signals. Where you got 4 coaches and 2 quarterbacks, 6 guys there signaling the play in.
Terrell Crawford not going anywhere, got stopped right at the line of scrimmage. D'Angelo Tyson might have just recorded his first official tackle as a Georgia Bulldog.
Yeah, see, what is that, the YMCA play?
Looks kind of like it.
Quarterback knows one guy is really signaling in the play. Everybody else is a dummy.
That's either YMCA or the Macarena, one or the other. 2nd down. Hinton going to run, and Hinton going to go down. Knocked down at the 35-yard line.
Well, never easy to lose, and I'm sure Georgia Southern realized what they were up against coming up here. I still call it 1AA. Taking on the top-ranked team in the country. They had to know what they were up against. Losing still not easy.
3rd down and 9. I don't know why they changed that to FCS. Did they feel like 1AA was demeaning? Was a slight,
perhaps.
Hinton going for Russ, and Russ had it in and out of his hands. Marcus Brown was running step for step with him, but it looked like Russ had it cradled and let it slip right out the back door.
Antonio Hinton couldn't have thrown that ball any better there. That would have impressed Jim Tressel. The way he threw that little air, little touch, drops it in there right where the receiver should be catching it. Marcus Russ, he'll be kicking himself on that whole ride back to the Burrow. He's going to be kicking himself.
Don't get nice passes like that very often. Put right in there in the end zone. 4th down and 9, and the Eagles going for it. Throwing on the run and up for grabs, and it's caught and a touchdown. Well, not exactly the way you might draw it up on the chalkboard, but Leander Barney, a 34-yard touchdown pass play with Antonio Hinton, and it's 45-20.
Hinton just threw it up for grabs. I mean, it's 4th down. He's getting sacked. He feels the pressure, and he says, look, it'd be stupid just to take the ball down here. I'm just going to throw it up. Maybe something good will happen. And something good happened, indeed. See, the Georgia players take themselves out of the play, and he's in for the 6.
The PAT by Hartley is good, but there is a flag down.
Maybe a little celebration going on there. You can't get away with anything anymore.
Illegal substitution on the defense, number 23. Penalties decline. Points good.
So with 1 minute and 45 seconds to play, the Eagles score their 3rd touchdown of the day, and it's 45-21 Georgia. 1:45 to play. The number 1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs leading Georgia Southern 45-21. Following a 34-yard pass play, Matthew Stafford's day long over. His counterpart over on the Georgia Southern sideline, Antonio Hinton, getting his first collegiate touchdown pass. Stafford finished with 275 yards passing on 13 of 21. Here's Antonio Hinton.
Again, 4th down. He feels the pressure. He just gets the ball up before he gets sacked. And wow, got a receiver, runs right under it. Sometimes good things happen.
Not quite as pretty a play as the one he had gotten to Marcus Russ a few plays earlier, and Russ dropped it, and then as fate turns out, you lob one up in the air for grabs, and your freshman Leander Barney comes and bails you out and scores a touchdown for you.
Ellerby saying, what's going on out there, guys? Come on.
202 yards of offense for the Eagles here in the second half compared to their 88 in the first, and of course 3 touchdowns.
Georgia up 38-0, sort of called off the dog, so to speak, and put in a lot of the young guys. Georgia Southern continues to play hard.
So let's see if the Eagles try to execute an onside kick here. They got them all bunched up at the 20-yard line.
It's good practice. You might need it sometime soon in the Southern Conference.
Nope. Pooch kick. Be taken at the 20-yard line by Marcus Brown. Marcus Brown will go down at the 32.
He was looking for 6.
Well, he went 90 yards against Hawaii in the Sugar Bowl.
He was looking to reverse that thing and come back all the way to the near side here and be gone with it.
Well, Logan Gray is going to check in at quarterback. Well, our first chance to see the Bulldogs' much heralded quarterback out of Missouri. Heard a lot about this young man, and a dual threat quarterback, and he checks into the ball game for the first time. First time he's played quarterback for the Bulldogs.
Saw him in practice during two-a-days, and I was really impressed with the way he threw the football. I think he's really gotten stronger in the strength and conditioning program. And I know he's an athlete, know he can run, but impressed with the way he threw it.
And there he's going to run it. I told you he's a dual threat quarterback, and he picks up a first down on his very first carry. 16-yard pickup for Logan Gray on his first carry as a Georgia Bulldog.
And this is what he can do. You see that zone read there, and he pulls it out and decides he's going to run with it.
The stadium's emptying out. A lot of people didn't even know he got into the ball game, but this is a moment that Logan Gray and his family are going to remember forever.
Oh yeah, you always remember that first playing time.
So you kind of lose sight of the fact, Georgia's got the big lead, 45-21, and a lot of people are already thinking about what they're going to do tonight. But there's guys down there on the field that practice. In Logan Gray's case, this is his second year of practice, who just now are getting on the field for the first time. This is a highlight moment for him.
Oh yeah, he was a scout team guy a year ago, and now he's in the mix. Pay your dues. Get to play on Saturday.
Down inside of 40 seconds right now. Next up for the Bulldogs, Central Michigan. You'll be able to see that game on replay here on CSS 2 Mondays from now. Probably the final play for Georgia here. We'll see if they give Logan Gray a chance to throw it. Instead, a run by Logan Gray. Little shifty move right there as he stutter stepped around the linebacker and gets to the 42-yard line. And that's the way this game's going to end. Well, the Georgia Bulldogs, #1 in the nation for the first time in school history, do nothing to detract from that #1 national ranking as they handle the Georgia Southern Eagles handily here today, 45-21, leading 24-0 at the half and win going away as the Bulldogs open the season 1-0 and they run their winning streak to 8 consecutive games.
Yeah, all in all, a good day. Some injuries they've got to be concerned about. Jeff Owens specifically. Hey, Georgia Southern, though, they came in here and they fought. Chris Hatcher's got a group that looks like they're going to be able to put a good team together and make a run in the Southern Conference.
And Uga 7 victorious in his debut as the Georgia Bulldogs mascot. Let's check in with Allison Williams.
Coach Rick, a career day by your quarterback, Matthew Stafford. Talk about just the poise and focus he showed out there.
He did a nice job, and there's a couple throws he probably wish he could have over, because if he'd have hit a couple guys on the run, it would have been even better. But overall, he did a beautiful job, and the line actually performed pretty well. And, there's enough good things that happened, but we got a long, long way to go.
You knew you were returning some great players, but how about some of the new guys, A.J. Green and Caleb King, really showing up today?
They did. They got a chance to make some plays, and they did. And I'm proud for A.J. and Caleb. And, of course, Richard got a couple shots in there, too. So, and there's all kind of youngsters that played in this game. I bet you we played at least 15 freshmen today.
Big thing today, obviously, is to get out of here without any injuries. Jeff Owens went down early. Is there anything you can tell us about his status?
Well, I just knows his knee, and we'll have to find out here a little bit later.
All right. Thanks so much, Coach.
Okay,
guys.
Well, Mark Richt now 73-19 as the Georgia Bulldogs head coach. And the Bulldogs lead after the opening lap on this race to Miami first week of January.
Good start. As you heard, long way to go. They'll take step 2 next Saturday against Central Michigan.
The Georgia Bulldogs 45-21 winners over the Georgia Southern Eagles. And now for my partner Buck Ballou and Allison Williams, our producer Steve Graham, and the entire CSS team. I'm Matt Stewart. So long from Athens, Georgia, where the Bulldogs start the season 1-0.